All right, and hello everyone. Time is 5:03. We're waiting for one board member to have a quorum, so just please be patient, and hopefully in a few minutes we'll have a fifth board member show up. Thank you. We're about ready to start. The time is 5:06.
Good evening, everyone. This is to advise those present at this April 9th, 2019 regular board workshop/action meeting of the Board of Education of the City of Pleasantville and the County of Atlantic. That notice was given on January the 4th, 2019 of the 2017 revised annual designation of the regular monthly board meeting, as required by the provisions of Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975. Notice thereof has been distributed for publication in the press, the Pleasantville Current, and the Mainland Journal, posted in the Administration Building and forwarded to the City Clerk of the City of Pleasantville within the time required by said act. Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley? Present. Mr. Page?
Yes. Present.
Ms. Couch?
Yes.
Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
President. For the record, Mr. Callaway will be running late, and also Mr. Norris will be running late this evening. Please stand for the flag salute and a moment of silence, please. Excuse me. Call. You never called my name. Make the record that I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize. Second, I think. Ms. Morgan, I apologize.
I'm not here. Sorry.
I did though, put you down.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We want to start this evening with the superintendent report, please.
Good evening, board members. I actually just have a couple of announcements that I thought were worth making. You know, as we try every year to encourage our students, and we are proud of those who are doing well. And so one of the things, of course, that is done annually to recognize some of those students is the Academic Excellence Recognition Brunch. And I just wanted to acknowledge those students who are attending that this year. From the middle school, we have Mr. Jonathan Baez, Laura Ortez Bermuda, Anika Cooper, Joshua Gonzalez, Veronica Rodriguez, and we have also from the high school, Elijah Glover and Jennifer Osoria. They'll be attending that Excellence Recognition Brunch at the Carriage House on Tuesday, June 4th, 2019. And okay, and there's another name, I think that's Juan Leal. I'm not absolutely sure. I apologize if it's not, and I will certainly correct it. I also want to encourage and give some credit to the students who, from the middle school, who are already participating in their Algebra 1 and English 1 classes. And the goal for these children is, of course, that as they get to the high school, they will receive high school credit if they make A or B in those two classes. And that's a continued effort as we move toward achieving the academic excellence. At this time, board members, I'd like to invite Mrs. Where's Ms. Owens? Yes, Ms. Owens from Leeds Avenue School. She'd like to share some information I think is really important and it needs to be heard. And I'll give her the rest of my time.
Thank you, Dr. Austin.
Good evening, board and Dr. Bauer. as well as to all of my colleagues and to the Pleasantville community. Myself, I spoke with Dr. Austin this evening, and this is in regards to Leeds Avenue School being able to receive from the New Jersey legislature from Senator Chris Brown, Senate commendations to 78 staff members at Leeds Avenue School. This is in reference to, and they are all individual as you see, all of our board members are getting a copy. The Senate accommodations are in regards to the Amistad curriculum. We are have fully implemented the Amistad curriculum throughout the year. And with that also came the fact that pulling resources together, teachers and support staff alike really put on and have been really moving forward in regards to our Amistad curriculum. It has been infused also within our ELA, that's our language arts, in providing informative text and reading. And I just truly want to thank, first of all, Dr. Austin for the encouragement and support, along with Dr. Noelle Jacqueline, my principal, Lisa Stewart-Smith, as well as Mrs. Spence Leslie, and also Mr. Johnson, where I began the training for Amistad curriculum in 2017. So under his mentorship, he was assisting me with that. I'm very grateful for that, and this helped me to continue on. I'm looking forward to attending, along with my colleagues, the Amistad in Summer Institute, which is normally held in July. I've been going for 2 consecutive years. I'm looking forward to this being my 3rd year. And I also would like to thank the Leeds Avenue School staff, teachers and support staff alike, who believed in me when I said that we can do it. They had some doubts in the beginning, but they were there. We pushed through. We researched together. We really saw so much growth within our students throughout the grade levels. And again, I want to say thank you for attending our Black History program that featured Amistad curriculum. We had so much of the community there, as well as from our district, our superintendent, our monitor, our board members, our president of the board, and so many were there, NAACP. I can go on and on and on. So again, thank you for supporting us, and we're looking forward to being able to celebrate this at a later time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Owens. And I don't know if you mentioned, but we would like to have these back. She wanted to, I thought it was a good idea that you had opportunity to see them. There were commendations received from the senator. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
If everyone can pass their certificates, public portion. First we have,
about video recording of the meetings. The meetings are recorded by the district. Anyone else who wishes to record the proceedings must request in advance, notify the board. It is permissible, but it has to be requested in advance of the meeting. That's the board policy. So since no one has requested in advance that there be a recording, there should not be any recordings made of the meeting. If anyone wishes to record in the future, they should make notice. Okay? If you're the press and you're press credentialed, sir, then you'll be permitted.
Madam President,
Go ahead, Mr. Page.
excuse me,
Go ahead.
I would make a motion to waive anyone who wants to take tonight, and we'll look at the minutes, we'll look at the policy. To the attorney, what number of policy is that?
168.
All right, my motion is to allow them to take, and we'll just look at that at another time. My motion is.
I'll second it. Go ahead. Motion on the table. All right, we're gonna proceed with the agenda. We have public portion,
Madam President,
and the first one we have is.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Page.
you allowed me to give you the floor,
I did it.
and I made a motion to allow anybody who wants to take to
We're gonna
continue to
stick
take.
with the agenda.
But it's been second, my motion was second. I would ask that you, as the board president, follow your authority and call the vote. I call the
We're
vote.
gonna stick with the agenda, Mr. Page.
Madam President,
Okay?
you're totally out, that's not your job. Your job is to follow through on a motion that was second. And I'm asking you to do your job.
I am doing my job. Okay?
Then I'm asking you to follow the motion that has been second.
First thing, sir, you have to turn off the camera.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't. This is not the first time he was taped. He taped other meetings. And this rule has never come up. All I'm asking, we have nothing to hide here. The motion has been made and it's been seconded. Madam President, I'm asking you to perform your duties as policy. Call the vote. Call the vote.
Madam President, let me just make a remark to this. Why I'm not against the taping of minutes, but the rule of thumb requires that every professional institution, there is a process of accreditation for journalism. Press does not just walk from outside into a meeting and start to record. I think if the procedure is followed, it can be allowed. Because I may have the option to be taped by any other camera besides this or not. So that,
Taking it on these cell phones too. Well, they're not even allowed to do
yeah,
that.
but it's not. But what? Let's just think about what will happen tomorrow. Everybody starts to come and they want to record.
So, excuse me, maybe Mr. Adcock, you can give me some assistance here.
Madam
We
President.
went over the policy.
There's a motion on the floor,
and
Madam
no one
President.
is to record tonight.
That's not true. That's not what the policy says. Now, you have your laptop there. Pull up the policies and pull up that policy that the lawyers say. You are the board president. You are to make clear what the policy actually says. My motion is allowing you to do that at a later time, but allow them to tape. There's nothing to hide here. I came here with a different attitude today, and I'm not here to mess with you, Madam President. I'm not. Matter of fact, I'm here to help you. But if you're not going to adhere to what I'm trying to say to you,
Ms. Hovey, you are not permitted to record. No, you can't. Ms. Pratt, you are not allowed to record, take pictures, or any of the kind.
While they're doing that, why don't I read the policy? I didn't write this policy. This is just a policy. Recording by the public. A member of the public may record the proceedings of a public meeting of the board provided the audio or video recording process complies with reasonable guidelines as outlined in this bylaw. These guidelines are adopted to ensure the recording of the public meeting does not interrupt the proceedings, which is obviously happening here, inhibit the conduct of the meeting, which is happening here, or distract board members or other observers present at the meeting. The board will permit the use of video recording devices only when notice of such intended use has been given to the board secretary in advance of the meeting. The board secretary or designee shall review the video recording guidelines with the person requesting the video record. Prior notice is not required to audio record. If you want to audio record, you can audio record. All audio and video recording devices shall be silent in operation, inoffensive, and unobtrusive. Any recording device must be located and operated from inconspicuous locations in the meeting room as determined by the presiding officer of the meeting. Prior to the meeting, the presiding officer will determine the location of each recording device so the video recording device can video record the meeting with an unobstructed view. The presiding officer may permit a person wanting to video record the meeting using a small handheld video recording device to sit with your video recording device in the public seating area of the meeting room provided the person recording and or the recording device is not distracting or obstructive to the meeting. The person who wants to audio record a public meeting shall sit with their audio recording device in the public area seating of the meeting room and shall not be distracting or obtrusive to the meeting. Additional lighting shall not be used unless approved by the presiding officer prior to the meeting. All recording devices must be battery operated as the district cannot guarantee convenient availability or location of electric outlets in the meeting room. The presiding officer shall determine when the number of video recording devices or if an audio or video recording device interferes with the conduct of a board meeting and may order that an interfering device be removed or relocated. The presiding officer may also limit the number of recording devices if he or she determines the number of and positioning of the video recording devices will be an unnecessary intrusion to that meeting. In this event, preference will be given based on the order in which prior notice requesting to record the meeting was provided to the board secretary. Any person who video records a public meeting in accordance with the provisions of this policy shall provide the board the opportunity to obtain a copy of the recording at the board's expense, but the board shall have no power to edit or abridge the original recording. That policy was adopted November 14, 2006, revised December 19, 2014, further revised January 6, 2015.
I doubt if we have a problem with giving a copy of this video for y'all to see. It's going to be publicized anyway.
Good evening. Madam President? Madam President?
Yes, Mr. Reed.
I would just ask that after hearing him read this, the motion that was made and was second, to let us vote on it and the board will make that decision. The board still makes the final decision, even though we have policy. Because they have taped many meetings before, and all of a sudden this policy comes up, Madam President, we have to be friendly to our citizens of Pleasantville, we have to be friendly to our staff.
I agree.
This is, you agree?
I agree.
Then I'll ask that you call the vote and let's see if the board agrees with you.
Mr. Page, you just want to stick with the agenda tonight.
Motion's been made in the second.
Okay, but we're going to stick with
Now,
the
should I
agenda
have the
tonight.
attorney read, after a motion's been made and seconded by a board member, what is the next step? Does he have to pick that up and read that? It says that you as the board president must follow.
This is what happened at the last meeting.
Excuse me, Ms. Pratt. Excuse me.
I would ask him to read the pub, read it where it says, when a motion's been made and seconded, that the chair must follow through with the calling of the voting of calling the vote. That's policy. And that's law. So go on record. And all I'm saying is, Madam President, let's be a little friendly to our staff and to our neighbors and and just allow that vote to happen.
Okay, well, we're going to continue on with the agenda.
Madam
So
President.
First, we have the public comment.
Madam President, I
and we
can't,
have,
Madam President,
Jesus Ruiz.
Madam President, I can't let you continue on until you adhere to what your laws are.
Jesus.
Yes, I am Jesus Ruiz. My name is Jesus Ruiz. I'm a sophomore at Pleasant. Is it good now? My name is Jesus Ruiz. I'm a sophomore at Pleasant High School, and I also play for the Pleasant Grants football team. And an issue that I would like to address that was addressed to me 2 weeks ago was that my driver's ed test was not counted because my teacher was not certified. I'm sorry.
I heard you, but I didn't. Say it again?
My driver's ed test that I've been spending 2 to 3 weeks reading the book about did not count. And I'm not the only one, it's me and my other student, my other colleagues, did not count because the teacher was not certified. My question to the board is, did you guys know she wasn't certified, or did you know you guys didn't want to act on it? That's what I want to start off with.
That should go to the superintendent.
Mr. Ruiz, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. Your information is given to you by whom and for what?
By the teacher herself. After the test, she said, the teacher herself said that none of our tests counted because she is not certified. So she knew she wasn't certified. And I looked at her with straight face like, so I just wasted 2 to 4 weeks studying for this test. I'm going to find out it doesn't even count because she's not certified. And I'm not the only one feeling this way, it's me and my other colleagues, as I stated before. But my question to you, the board, is, do you guys know that she was not certified?
Well, I think first of all, we need to find out whether or not that is true. So,
We have to be careful not to discuss, presumably the person's not right. What I would suggest is that you do bring it to the attention of the superintendent to his office. The only way you can discuss anyone by name at a meeting is if they've been noticed in advance that they would be discussed. So I certainly understand your position, and you can bring it to the attention of the superintendent, but they just cannot discuss the person by name. That's what I would say.
Another issue that I wanted to state for the football team is our weight room equipment. Our lat pull-down machine, the rope is broken, so we had to make our weight room a whole different layout now. Also, we need new plates and all that, everything's breaking, and it's gonna get to a point where everything's broken, we can't use it. So, and then that hurts the football team, and then obviously the football team's been sparking up lately, so the school's been on the rise, and we don't, I know for sure, I don't wanna see that go down. So, new football equipment as well. And a field house for the football team. That would be, I think that would be like a crucial move to make. Everything would be more organized, everything would be less delayed and all that. So that's my thing.
We don't disagree. What I do recommend is that you go back to your coach and have your coach submit what is needed. If there are things that you're stating that is breaking, then we need to know. And then, I talk to your coach often. If you need something that's health and safety, and that's obviously a safety issue, just have the coach bring it in.
Why would he have to go back to the coach if he's making an?
I'm going to talk to the coach myself, but
Okay.
he's sitting. Wait a second, he's sitting here and voicing his concerns. I'd like him to go back to coach, but I'm going to the coach
Okay.
too.
That sounds good.
Without me having to talk to the coach, can we still get it though?
I need to know what it is.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, things are breaking.
Sure.
Also, another thing, my last thing I would like to say is that we have a football field, yes, and we have an up top area. Is there any possible way we can change that to an actual field? Because up there, nothing's been done down there. There's mud everywhere, it's horrible, it's dangerous for sure. I know I almost broke my ankle multiple times on that. Also, and we need more fields, because I know soccer and football are like, not the same season, but they both need practice in the same field. And Eric's us, we play up teams with turf, with grass, but not as bad as how it is at the top. So can we just get that arranged? And not only for the football, but for the player safety.
What part you come from?
It's like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like the football field, and it's uphill. That area. So those are my, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruben. We have Wanda Pratt.
Good evening, board. First, I'd like to say thank you to the superintendent for taking and putting the siding and fixing back up the trailer for the younger preschool kids and taking down the molded fence that was messed up over there. But we still have other schools that you still have not addressed, which is the older building where the water's coming from the top of the roof into the entrance. Which we spoke about this in January, but last month you act like we didn't speak about this, because you said you didn't remember. Then I'm waiting for your response though before I go on.
Go ahead, Ms. Pratt.
Now, I'm waiting for his response.
Okay, go ahead and finish.
Without his response, I can't finish.
She can go on after you're done.
But I'm not speaking with you, I'm speaking to the superintendent.
Go on, Ms. Pratt.
So that means you're not going to address me when I just asked you a question, sir. This is the same thing that she did in January when I addressed you. I addressed you personally, and then she wanted to speak for you, like you don't have a voice though, but you're the superintendent.
I don't speak for anyone, but I'm just
But-
telling you to continue on because you only get 3 minutes.
I understand what I get,
Okay.
but I'm still waiting for a response because I had a question there.
What building are you talking about?
I'm talking about the little preschool building that Atlantic Care uses from Pleasantville,
Yeah.
North Main. I would wait for anybody to respond.
What this for?
Along with that, it was brought to my knowledge earlier last week that you had an outbreak over there. So I took and I pulled the legal paperwork because the things were not done correctly. Okay, you followed the first step and you notified the parents through a text. Okay, but your nurse is treating the students. That's not a part of the legal state documents. They are supposed to go to their family doctor, be treated for head lice, okay, and come back to school with that note. And they were supposed to call the Board of Health because it's more than 3 cases. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm bringing this to your attention today, and I have the documents to prove what I'm speaking about, if you would like to see them. I'll pass them around. Next question is, my understanding is that you're supposed to be closing North Main Elementary School, and they're supposed to be getting transferred to Decatur in September. How is that when Decatur Avenue School was condemned? Now I'm waiting for somebody to respond. These are questions. I can't go nowhere without no answers.
Your time's up, Ms. Pratt.
How is my time up when you're not addressing what I'm saying, and plus paperwork's being passed around
Okay.
for you to look at?
Okay, but your time's
Okay.
up. All right?
Next question,
Your time's up, Ms. Pratt.
you do that to me every month. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from with that.
Okay.
Okay, because you keep speaking for the superintendent.
I don't
You're
speak
not,
for
yes, you
anyone.
are. You're
Your-
not allowed
your time's up,
to
Ms.
speak,
Pratt.
which is totally
Ms.
wrong.
Pratt,
I think I need to bring a policy for the board up for you. I'm gonna go get that for you. Cause you in all kinds of, you not, see, being that my piece of paper is still going around, I'm really still, well, supposed to be standing here because I'm sending a piece of paper around making you aware of an outbreak that's at one of your schools. And until every board member has seen it, I shouldn't be leaving from this mic, even though the 3 minutes is up. I'm sending something that's vitally important. This means that you're endangering students and teachers.
Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent, were you aware of what I just spoke
Ms.
on?
Pratt, your time is up. Thank you.
See, what is the problem with the superintendent speaking for himself?
Ms. Pratt, you're out of line.
No,
Your time's up.
You
Thank
out of
you.
line, especially when my paperwork's still going around the table and it hasn't been addressed.
Next we have Susan
No.
Sweezy.
You all kinds of wrong. I'm gonna move over here and I'm gonna retrieve my paperwork, being that you don't wanna address it.
Susan,
I highlighted some things on there, as you would see.
Okay, thank you, and good evening, Board. And congratulations, I mean, at least it's nice to see that we have somebody here, Mr. Ruiz, who really does exemplify what our school system is about and what we are all trying to do. You know, congratulations, thank you, thank you. My name is Sue Swazzeni. I teach at the middle school. I am also the union secretary. I do have a couple of issues that have been brought to my attention. First, number one was the cleanliness of the schools. We're having problems with just a general mess. Over the middle school, there's food on the walls of the stairwell. There's stains all over the floor. South Main has problems with rats. That, that's what I was told, that they have rats and they have glue traps and mice and cockroaches and whatever else. So I asked them specifically who they are to report these things to, and they really were kind of iffy on it, but they did say that the office has been made full aware of what's going on.
Excuse me, that piggybacks on a piece of paper that I
I'm
just
sure,
handed around.
I'm sure. We're also concerned about the safety of our schools. We have like far too many part-time security people who really deserve and need to be full-time. Also, to go back to the other ones, we have a bunch of part-time custodians and we have a bunch of part-time custodians in waiting who really deserve to be full-time as well. But the part-time security, for instance, was today where the entire 6th grade class, something 200 plus students, are in the cafeteria, and the only people monitoring them are 2 part-time security staff. It's an unsafe situation. That is, you cannot imagine how volatile that is. I was also asked about the update on the water fountains. There are a number of water fountains that were found to be lead contaminated. They are turned off, and I was asked if where there would be an update as to when they're going to be turned back on, what the results of the testing are, and what we can expect from that. And then to piggyback on that one, also, I was asking a couple of months ago about the mold reports, and I was told to look online onto our website, and yes, there are many mold reports. There are mold reports there and what they recommend. The problem is, I would like to know if what we have taken to do with the recommendations Do we have a certificate that says that we are mold-free? Do we have these people come in and monitor all the time, or is this just something that is in-house? Is there a webpage that I can go to that says something about what we have done with the recommendations for mold?
Ms. Susan, your time's up.
Yes, I can help you with that. I have the information.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It's nice that somebody can help me. Appreciate that.
Madam President, I wanted to ask her a question. Yes, thank you for your presentation. I listened clearly. I think about life and safety. I want you to ensure that this is documented and presented to the superintendent so that he can have the information that maybe we can share together to ensure that this is implemented.
Well, believe me, all of this goes through the school dude. It is reported, it is recorded. I know middle school has a pest management book that anytime there's something that shows up, we're to go down and write in. But there really should be follow-up. There really should be something that says, gee, the bug guy came in this day and did this, you know, and that's what.
Yes, because the reason I'm concerned is that when it reaches before the board, that means it requires immediate attention. So maybe you can give it to the board president as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
Next, we have Steve Young.
Steve Young, I'm basically here to follow up on some issues from a letter dated March 11, 2019.
I'm sorry, you said March 11th?
March 11th, which I believe all the board members received. It was to the superintendent about 19 issues that we wanted to actually question you about, as well as a copy of your Honor Style curriculum. That's the Black History curriculum in the school district, as well as a letter from EPA and the school district, as well as a personnel manual, the mission statement, an agreement with the state monitor and the district, and duties of the state monitor, and a copy of letters state requesting assistance. That means any letters that you sent out to the state requesting any type of assistance or any type of aid. What we received back was only the following: coastal environmental indoor air quality investigation final report, board policy regarding staff evaluation.
What's your question?
Well, I'll give you an update for those who didn't know, and then I'll get to my question.
No, go ahead with the question. Because you did say that we all received that.
Yeah, but I don't think you see what I got back, what we got back in response was only
You have
3 pages.
copies?
No, I don't have copies. I had a 2-page letter, I got a half a page back.
Okay.
And what we're requesting right now is the rest of the information so we can move forward with improving the situation in this district when it comes to the quality of life of the students as well as the staff. So when will we be able to receive the rest of the information that was requested formally as well as through an open request?
So all of that was in your request?
Yes.
Your open request.
So, Mr. Young, you're saying that with the 2-page request that you got, they only gave you back a little bit of information and you're seeking the rest of the information?
That's correct, that's what I'm here.
I don't understand why they give half and not answer the whole thing. It don't make sense.
Ms. Young.
Wait a minute, excuse me, we're being recorded again. Mr. Ashcroft? I don't know, what was the final solution with this?
There was a motion made and second, and you said you were going to come back and let us vote on it.
He just said
You shouldn't have to turn it off unless the motion has been made and seconded and it's been voted on, then we'll see what's
There, Mr. Young, you had asked, there's some financial information.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm going back to this camera that's in my face.
You have to go to the motion that was made and seconded so we can clear it up.
Excuse me, Ms. Craig, you're about to be removed from the meeting. Why? Because you're disrupting us.
I'm not disrupting you with a question.
Mr. Adcock, can you see if this camera is cut off, please?
Excuse me, is that part of my 3 minutes? Because that's part of my constitutional right to film, take pictures. When, especially after you do an open public meeting and put it in the press. So if we want to go there.
Not comply with the policy. Now, before you stated you were not recording the meeting, now you're saying you are recording the meeting, you had the right to do so.
I can take out my phone and record.
That camera needs to be turned. You can record audio. The policy allows audio recording. That camera cannot be facing the dais or any other part of that.
That's it.
It's not,
I'm
you
not
have a
gonna
constitutional
do
right. Constitutional rights are subject to reasonable restraints and restrictions. You are allowed to record the meeting if you request in advance and notify the board in advance. I read the entire policy. And in my opinion, I was the one that wrote that policy, but I do think it is a constitutional policy, and you're not compliant with the policy.
It's a constitutional right.
And you were not being honest with this board when we were told that
Excuse me,
he's not recording.
don't say, don't deal with my character with honesty. After all the things
I
I've
am
been
questioning,
saying. Don't question my honesty or
it, sir.
respect.
I'm
Don't
questioning if that's
disrespect me
being
like that.
recorded when it was
Don't
represented that that is not
disrespect me
recorded.
like that. Don't do that. I didn't do it to you.
You didn't, sir.
Then
You put
you
yourself
let
out
me
there.
know. Don't do that. I'm not gonna go back and forth.
Wait a minute, I'm just trying to understand, only asked about the camera, so are you recording speed or is this fella
Listen, when
recording?
you do a good business, it don't matter if you're on camera or not.
Huh?
Do what you're supposed to do
You
properly.
have to have the right. Would you?
That's why you don't want us here, that's why you don't want this to happen.
Let me say it like this.
It's just going to expose either way, so it's best to try to make yourself look good as you can before I go in here after I leave here. Live 609 radio,
Excuse me, like this is way out of order. Way out of order. Way out of order. Excuse me, Miss Fred, like I gave you a chance, but this is.
Give me no chance.
Oh, you're right, I did. Go ahead. Go
Madam
ahead.
President, can I speak for just a minute?
Yes, please.
I need to clear up a couple of points because there seems to be a little bit of misunderstanding. So I want to make clear to everybody the position of the police department in this particular issue. We are not legal scholars, and I don't know at all anything about what Mr. Carroll just explained, or Mr. Ellis explained, or Mr. Young does. Here's what I will say to clarify the policy. Before I read this off, I'll say that I'm happy to sit down and have a meeting with members of the board, or members of NAN, or anybody that wants to discuss it further, and I take full responsibility for what I'm going to read to you. This is not board approved or city council sanctioned. To be clear, it's an internal policy. It says, this policy is designed to provide a set of common sense protocols and guidelines in order to effectively and justly administer the security of any large public meetings, such as this, maintain public safety, and ensure that the civil rights of all attendees are protected. The guiding principle for all security operations at public meetings shall be to follow the will of the chairperson of the meeting unless it is impossible to do so. Following this standard ensures that police officers are not forced to identify which forms of protest are acceptable and which are not, and thus placing the police officers in charge of the meeting rather than the governing board of the body. Officers assigned to any large public meeting should accomplish the following tasks. This is procedural and security related, so I can't really read it, but it's not something specifically relates to this. In the event that the chair fails to take appropriate action to maintain safety, the senior officer of the detail shall warn the chair that if the situation continues to create a hazard, police will intervene and end the meeting. This is the point that I want to make. The police department doesn't know or take any position on what is or is not allowed. The police department has identified a set of protocols with the school board that says, school board, if you want somebody removed, you tell us and we're going to do it. We're not going to ask questions. It also says that in the event that the crowd, or whatever, that the ongoing actions of the board or whomever else are so egregious that they create a potential public safety risk, then we're going to shut down the meeting. And that's all we're going to do. We're not going to, and as I just told Officer Evans a minute ago, we don't make decisions at all. We will either do what the president tells us to do, or we will shut down the meeting, and everything in between is up to you folks to do. But the point at which the meeting is no longer under control and it presents a public safety risk, we're going to shut it down. And we will take full responsibility for that. And when I say that, I mean I will take full responsibility for that. Now that said, I want to clarify again, this is not a board policy. This is not a city council policy. This is an internal police department policy. And if there's issues with it, I would much rather sit down and discuss them in our office. And we can set up a meeting to do that and not here. And I want to say, on behalf of Mr. L. and Mr. Young, they have been cooperative with the things that I've asked them to do in order to maintain order. But if you want them to leave, you tell us and they'll leave.
Well, I just need the camera to be removed and Miss Pratt to be removed.
Okay.
No.
Ms. Pratt, you have to leave.
We have a question. Chief.
We're going to take a 10-minute break.
Chief. Riggins.
Can I get a motion to take a 10-minute break?
Riggins.
All in favor?
Riggins.
Anyone opposed?
Hey, Riggins. Chief Riggins.
Can you get them? Board members, we need to reconvene. It just gets better every day. Board members, we need to reconvene. Madam President, I need a motion to come back into session.
Can I get a motion to come back into a session? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No one opposed. Mr. Young, we're gonna start your time over.
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
35 minutes.
Okay.
Like we were saying before, we request certain information and didn't receive it back. So we would like to know what's the time frame for receiving the information back. It was 19 different issues, because you have a lot of issues. And we were specific about getting copies of certain financial information. So that's our request, and you were in process of giving me an answer. Well, y'all not gonna do the head thing again, I hope.
Mr. Johnson, you want the financial information? I told you last time we met that I could provide you with that. I have my secretary over there, we can provide you that tomorrow. The financial information.
Tomorrow, all the information that we...
No, you heard what I just said, Mr. Young. I said the financial information, that when I spoke with you, I said the financial information I can provide you, and I will provide you with that. The financial.
Okay, so the other information, who do I get that from, the attorney or the state? Who has the rest of the information?
I'm sorry, what information?
It was the information about the state monitor, their role, how much they get paid, the legal contracts from attorneys, all of that was the issue.
Okay, so you get that from the VA.
Financial information, like I said. Financial information.
So I have to, so you're saying you're only gonna give me the financial information? The other information you don't have?
The information you just requested was financial.
No, I have other, let me hand it to you.
No, you can just give it to her.
If I had enough time, I'll read it over again, but I'm not gonna go through that. All of you board members, you had a copy of it at the last meeting. It's been 2 to 3 weeks, you had time to review it. The administration, you had a copy as well. We just like the time frame of getting it completed. And you're saying for the financial information, it will be tomorrow. The rest of the information, you don't know, correct? That's the answer. Okay. What you have before you is another over request, requesting it all over again.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Jackson? Did you receive a letter from anyone from administration that your second information will come whatever date?
No, I did not.
Now, the OPRA provides that. If they cannot accommodate the 7 days, you are to get a letter from Elijah or whoever telling you, we're kind of busy, but we will have it to you within whatever. That's not, Jim, is that the law? Jim, am I right, Jim?
All right, thanks, Mr. Page. Thanks, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, I'm gonna ask this question right quick. I didn't receive that, but it's on record now, and it's being filmed and recorded, and I hope documented and showed to the public, just the way we said it, that this information will be carried out.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Next we have Joe Manetta.
Good evening, Board. Joe Manetta, PBOE Vice President.
Good evening.
Question number one. Back on March 18th, we won an award for one of our members to return back to work at arbitration, and he has not yet returned.
Why?
Is there a timetable, and why not? Why hasn't that happened yet? Can someone answer that, please?
Why?
I don't think that is, I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know whether the matter, it may be being appealed. I don't know. Ben is not here. Ben would be the one that has that information. I assume if he's not been brought back to work and it was an arbitrator's award, then the award would be being appealed. But I don't want to say that because I'm not the one that makes that determination. If you want to give Ben a call tomorrow, we'll get you that. So give you that information.
Question, Jim? This was an arbitration that the board had filed, and the board had won it. I mean, Tim Jones, he won his case.
I'm not sure if he's right.
Can't testify. We can't testify.
He's not back yet. What are you talking about? He's not an employee yet. You haven't brought him back. So I can discuss it.
It's still
Listen,
personnel.
it's still personnel, but that doesn't mean nothing. What it means is, if the Board of Education fought a case and we lost, the administrator, the arbitrator awards the person back his job. Now, could I have a copy of the award? Because my understanding is he's to be put back immediately, and then it changes up and says whenever the superintendent, whatever, sees it fit, to do it. As far as an appeal, nobody has the right to appeal but the board. So this case, if it's going to be appealed, should come to the board to explain why you want to appeal it. Right. But this is, we do this every day. We have arbitrations. You rely on the arbitrator to make a sound decision. I would like to read that whole arbitration award. If that arbitrator says the person is to be brought back, full back pay, full benefits, as if he never left, why isn't he back? State monitor, do you have anything to say with that? Can you please go ahead and, with your authority, award this gentleman back his job?
Can I say something too?
Wait a minute, I'm sorry.
Now, I do realize that matter was handled by Mr. Gallagher through our office.
Is he here? Is he here?
Okay, I do agree that there was an arbitrator's award that did award back. As far as I know, they were considering asking the board for approval to appeal. I don't know where
Let's
it's at.
bring him here and let's get him on the mic.
I would suggest, we're gonna have a discussion, let's have an executive session, then we can bring it out after executive session.
Don't have to have executive session, not with this issue. We want, the gentleman wanted an arbitration. The arbitrator award, which I haven't seen yet, but it says that he is to be put back to work immediately.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Page, I just have a question for you. You want to see the response from the arbitrator, correct? Or you just want to make a decision without seeing it?
The person that told me that he's back is the grievance himself. I would believe that he has the document to say that.
But you want to read it before you make a decision, correct?
Yeah, I would like to read it, but if he won, he won. Dr. Austin, did Mr. Jones win his case for an arbitration?
Yes. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Manetta.
Now, to my understanding, and please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, with an arbitration, to my understanding, the results are binding and can be appealed?
They can be appealed. The issue would be whether the arbitrator's decision was based on proper facts or was an arbitrary capricious. It's a high standard to meet, and they're not normally overturned on appeal. I will say that. I've represented unions for years. But it does happen on occasion where they do get overturned.
And it also costs them a lot of money, too.
That we don't have.
It may make a good recommendation to have the arbitrator's award reviewed by the board and the board to discuss it in executive session and make a determination.
So the board don't have the award yet? Okay, so that's March 18th, and the board doesn't, it's April 9th, and the board doesn't have it yet. Wow.
Any other questions, Mr. Manetta?
I have one more thing to say in anticipation of potential budget cuts. Again, we're around that time, April, May. Can we get the union the information beforehand, not the last hour, so that we can do what we need to do for our people? Because in past years, we got it the last minute, and then everybody was let go, and it was a whole big mess. I'm just asking, can we get enough time in advance? Can you let us know in advance what's going on, so we're not kept in the dark? If that, I would appreciate that.
All right, we'll take that into consideration.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next, we have Gene Hovey.
Okay, can I say one more thing?
Go ahead, Mr. Manetta.
He just let me know that he sent the award letter to all the board members. When was it, last week? He said 2 weeks ago, everyone should have gotten the award to review.
He personally did. We didn't receive anything from this end of town.
Thank you.
Jean Hubby?
I don't think I could top that.
Thank you. That's it for public portion.
Man, we got the whole police force here. I hope our streets are safe. Shots fired, ain't doing that.
Taxpayers' money.
Go ahead, Mr. Tompkins.
Madam President, I'd like to move for the approval for the January 3rd, 2019 minutes.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Motion by Ms. Cox, can I get a second? Second.
Question.
Excuse me, second by, Ms. Thompson. Second.
Question.
Any question?
Question.
Go ahead, Mr. Page.
Elijah, did we not approve this at the last meeting?
No,
You sure?
I'm 100% sure.
Okay. Did you do any corrections?
I didn't think I had any corrections.
Did you do any corrections
I just,
since the last meeting?
Do you see an issue, Mr. Page?
Yes, and I brought it up the last meeting.
Okay.
That's why I'm asking, did you do a correction?
Okay, so
No.
what was the issue?
You don't remember?
What was the issue, Mr. Page?
Madam President, you don't remember?
What was the issue, Mr. Page?
The issue was, when I brought up for 2 meetings a month, instead of the 14 meetings we have in, 2 meetings a month, the vote came out where Ms. Cassie had voted in favor. But when you look at the minutes, it says that she voted no. Now, if you didn't change that, then we would have to ask Ms. Cassie, how did she vote that night? Because, listen,
Mr. Page, what meeting are you talking about, the 3rd or the 15th?
what meeting are we motion on?
Vote.
No, you just motion on the 3rd.
Which minute?
Huh?
The minute?
For the 3rd.
Okay, so the 3rd.
Yes, I'm talking about the 3rd.
So your correction is that, what is it?
Ms. Cassie,
Excuse me, Mr. Page, what's the correction?
well, when you question Ms. Cassie, why did she support me in that motion, she told you because she thought it was the right thing to
Excuse
do.
me, Mr. Page, what is the correction?
The correction is her vote.
Okay, and it says what?
Excuse me?
What does it say? How did she vote?
What was on the minutes that she voted against my motion.
Okay,
But that's not what happened.
that's not what
She
happened.
voted in favor of it.
You requested for the footage.
I don't have to request for the footage. I
You
know,
just
I was
remember.
there. Excuse me?
You just remember?
Excuse me? Remember what? I asked Elijah, did you make any corrections to the January 3rd meeting?
Mr. Page, I just stated no.
And he stated no.
Okay.
And now I got to bring up, why didn't he make corrections?
Mr. Page, you brought up a concern. I will take that into consideration. You had stated that there was she had voted in favor of your motion. I will take that into consideration.
I said that at the last meeting.
No, Mr. Page, I'm advising you now, I will take that in.
But, Elijah, did I not say that at the last meeting?
Can we move on,
So,
Mr. Page? I will review the tape and make the necessary changes.
So, I'm sorry, Mr. Carroll. So, with the minutes, could we just take that out until, Mr. Tompkins?
No, you bring it back correction.
Excuse me.
Maybe you can
Until-
table it again if you wish to table it again.
I mean, just that portion.
Or you can just redact that one section, and that section of the minutes will be redacted until it's resolved.
But there's some more problems.
Otherwise, the rest of the minutes cannot be released to the public. So that one section will be redacted, and then Mr. Thompson.
No, because there's some more problems with the minutes. And I would rather,
Well, we only can work on one problem at a time.
then I would say,
So-
bring this back
Excuse me,
after
Mr.
corrections
Page.
are done.
So, Mr. Tompkins, you have notes on that issue,
That's all.
right?
I
So
have
what's
no
your
time.
second issue, Mr. Page?
Second issue is, Richard Norris. He doesn't appear anywhere within the minutes that that he had a problem with his fingerprint.
Mr. Page, on January 3rd, Mr. Norris was not on the board. Why would he appear in the minutes?
Because he was here ready to be sworn in.
What's your question, Mr. Page? Or,
My
what needs to be
question
corrected?
is to have the minutes reflect what really happened. Because
He was
those
not on the
minutes-
board, Mr. Page.
Excuse me?
He was not on the board. There's no minutes from Mr. Norris. He was not on the board.
There was discussion about him and why he could not be on the board that night.
But he was not on the board. If that is your concern, I will take that under advisement.
Well, I gotta tell you why I'm bringing this up. I checked back some other board meetings with you approving the minutes. And you actually made an announcement that one of the board
Mr.
members
Page, I'm
could not
sorry.
be sworn in
I'm sorry.
because he didn't get his fingerprint.
We have,
You put that in the
Mr.
minutes.
Page, we have this agenda. So you have two corrections that you have a concern with from January the 3rd, 2019, correct? So, Mr. Tompkins, you said that you look into that,
I
correct?
advise him I will take a look at that and take all of his concerns into consideration. Put him in.
So, Jim, how can we do this? If it was.
The motion was to approve the minutes. There was a question about whether or not a vote was recorded properly.
Correct.
Well, Mr. Page is not the person who recorded that vote. I don't know whether the person whose vote allegedly was wrongfully recorded has a recollection of whether it was wrongfully recorded or not. But she can discuss that with Mr. Tompkins. That can be redacted from now to be resolved in the discussion and a review of the tape if necessary. The other item as to what's not in the minutes, that cannot be resolved.
Or I can make a motion to table it, the corrections are made, and bring it back. I can make a motion
So what
to
I'm
table.
saying, Jim,
So the motion is now, I would suggest that you make a motion to approve the minutes with the redaction of that one vote to be reviewed, and then that can be approved later. That will allow the rest of the minutes to be approved and to be released to the public.
So you gotta change the
Yes,
motion.
ma'am.
That motion has to be modified. I'm gonna change the motion.
so
I make a
we have a
motion that
motion, we have a
The person who
second.
made the motion have to agree to that amendment.
So now we have roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Well, now,
No, you can't do that.
first, whoever made the motion, they would agree to that redaction. That would be the first
That
question.
was, saying,
Okay. The person who seconded it,
no,
who seconded it?
I didn't.
Okay. You agree to that?
No.
Okay, then I think you're gonna have to tell it. From the deputy voters vote, question. These, by the way, are supposed to be resolved before the meeting.
And I gave the same information at the last meeting.
Somebody doing it.
Get January to approve 99%.
Use the microphone, I can't hear you.
What I'm suggesting is if, as seconding that motion, if you would agree to the amendment, then the motion would be to approve the January 3rd minutes with the exception of that one vote.
Correct.
Okay, and you agree?
Yes.
Okay, now you
Call the vote, Mr.
I'll make a
Tompkins.
motion that we table
Call the
it.
vote, Mr. Tompkins.
I make a motion that we table it. We can't call the motion. The minutes are not correct. Now, you gonna change the motion?
Mr. Norris, you calling the vote, so after you take the vote.
You can't do that. What's wrong with taking the minutes back and correct them, Elijah? I'll come in and sit down with you. All you gotta do is look at the tape. Look at the tape.
The tape's been edited, that's
The
why.
tape doesn't show up on the computer anymore. We don't see any minutes back to December 11. We don't see no video.
Mr. Barkley.
Yes.
Mr. Callaway. Ms. Clemens. Ms. Couch. Ms. Mello. Ms. Morgan.
No.
Mr. Norris.
No.
Mr. Norris, you must abstain.
Say it again, sir?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
How's he gonna vote for minutes? He
That was
wasn't?
my other issue. He wasn't on the agenda. He was here. He can vote.
No, he cannot vote on minutes. He wasn't on the board yet. He cannot vote on minutes. You're
Yeah,
never
but-
here.
But my argument
Everybody else
is,
was here. They can't vote either. Until you're on the board, you can't vote for those minutes.
and why wasn't he on the board that night?
Mr.
We're in the
Carroll.
middle of a, roll call.
So, my question is, I'm
We're in
sorry.
the middle of a roll call.
All right, Mr. Page,
Absolutely not.
Ms. Thomas.
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Norris.
So my question is, you saying that I can't vote because I wasn't sworn in?
Yes.
So that's right. Okay.
Your opportunity is coming up right now.
The motion carries.
See how crooked that is?
Madam President. Madam President,
Go ahead, Mr. Norris.
may I ask another question? During the board meetings that we hold each month, are all the minutes required to be copied? In other words, all the items that we talk about, issues, policies and procedures that we discuss in front of the public, aren't the board meetings supposed to be copied and secured and typed? They are. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Tompkins, 2.2, board
Ma'am.
minutes for January 15, 2019.
Correct. I need a motion for 2.2.
Can I get a motion for 2.2?
I make a motion to table to, the minutes are correct.
Second.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
So, okay.
Believe it or not, Mr. Page, that motion was made in the right time, the right second. It is a proper motion, it's not a discussable motion, so we will have to take a vote on whether or not to table the minutes approval of the motion.
Do I have to give my reasons why? I
No,
said-
you don't, no, you don't. Just clarify, this is not the vote to approve or disapprove the minutes. This is a motion not to have a vote on the minutes and to table it and carry it to another time.
Table for corrections.
This is a motion to table for corrections.
Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley? Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
I didn't hear Ms. Crouch. Yes or no?
Mr. Tompkins heard her.
I didn't hear.
Go ahead, Mr.
Madam
Tompkins.
President, you are to
Go ahead,
let us
Mr.
know
Tompkins.
what the votes are.
Go ahead, Mr. Tompkins.
Ms. Morgan?
No.
Mr. Norris?
No.
Mr. Page? Mr. Page?
Can you explain what a no vote
There's
is,
a motion on the
Elijah?
floor.
Can you explain what a no vote is for this motion
I wanted to send my,
to the attorney?
I wanted to send my vote, I voted wrong. My vote was
Before we
changed.
took the vote, the attorney did explain it.
No. What a yes vote
Can I-
means for tabling. Mr. Attorney.
I want
Jim.
I want to rescind my vote
We're
from
in
no
the
to
middle of a
yes.
roll call.
Mr. Page?
I wanted a correction of what a yes vote is versus a no vote. A yes vote is to table the minutes. A no vote is not to table the minutes.
I'm trying to
Mr. Page.
send my vote,
Mr.
Mr.
Page.
Geiger, from
We're in
no
the
to yes.
middle of the vote.
That's right.
Barclay, not today.
She's changing her vote.
Not today, Barclay.
That's fine. Mr. Page?
Did Morgan change her vote?
To yes.
Well,
No, that's fine. Mr. Page? Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Elijah, can you let the record reflect that I changed my vote from?
The record doesn't reflect it.
All right.
no.
No.
Ms. Morgan changed her vote to yes. Motion fails.
Wait a minute. You got Mr.
I'm sorry.
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Norris.
I'm sorry. So the yes vote is to table this to a further date, correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
And the no vote is to not table it.
That's correct.
So I made a mistake. I'm going to say yes. I'd like to send my vote. I apologize.
The motion fails. The motion to table for corrections failed.
Can I get a motion to approve 2 point? Oh, so we.
Now you gotta make a motion. Huh? Who made it? No, I put my motion out before any motion was made.
First. I need a motion.
Can I get a motion for 2.2? Motion to.
Wait a minute, no, we have to vote on the,
Motion to approve 2.2.
we didn't vote on the minutes.
And second.
That is the minutes.
Second. By Ms. Thomas. Questions? Roll call, Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Calloway?
Yes.
Ms. Clemens?
No.
Ms. Cash? Ms. Mellon?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
No.
Mr. Norris?
No.
Mr. Page?
Minutes are not correct, no.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'd like the monitor to look at that vote.
All right, Mr. Thompson. 3.1.
I need a motion on 3.1, the budget.
What?
Can I get a motion for 3.1?
Ms. Couch?
Second by Ms. Thomas. Second. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barker? Mr. Calloway? Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We're still having a budget meeting though on the 29th.
We're having 2 budget meetings. Madam President, I need 4.1.
Can I get a motion for 4.1? Motion by Ms. Clemens. Second, can I get a second? Second. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barker? Mr. Calloway? Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Can I get a motion for 4.2?
I make a motion that we table.
Can I get a motion for 4.2?
Make a motion we table 4.2.
Necessary motion. Can I get a second? for 4.2? Second by Ms. Butler.
There was a motion to table, so we need a second to table.
So again, this is a motion to table, so if you vote yes, then that would not be voted on tonight. It would not be considered. Yes means table it, no vote tonight. No means not table, and we'll have a vote.
Do we still have a question on that too?
Now this is for 4.2.
Can you do a roll call?
Roll call, yes, roll call.
This is a motion to table the corrective action plan.
Yeah, and Elijah, can you explain what that item actually is?
Just, I'll explain, I've done a lot of work with municipalities, with state agencies, and with the school boards over the years. This is a very critical vote to have. This is the auditor's corrective action plan. I would strongly, I don't usually give an opinion on a vote, but this is a very, very important vote. If the board does table this, this is how you end up with a problem with the state. This is Ford Scott, this is the auditor, this is not a political issue. This is a corrective plan from the district auditor, so I would strongly advise it.
Oh, then I have to be clarified because that's not what I'm looking, that's not the document I have here. The correction plan is coming from the superintendent, the board administrator, of how they are going to correct the deficit in the food service department at $384,000. That is a correction plan coming from our administrators that is going to go to the state. It is not the correction plan from the auditors.
That is not accurate, Mr. Page. That is the audit. We had one audit finding, and that was in food service. And that is a corrective action plan. It's for the audit.
Coming from who?
From the corrective action plan comes from us, but it's an audit finding that has to be addressed to a corrective action plan.
But I'm asking to table because I am the chair of the food service committee. And this had never came across the food service committee because we've never had a committee meeting. I have some suggestions, I have some recommendations, I have some other things that this is very vague of how you're going to come out of within 2 years a deficit of $384,000. The monitor really has to pay attention to this because if board members are to be involved in committee meetings, then we have a say. I have a say.
Mr.
Wait a minute. No, wait. Board President, you will vote on anything as long as it's what they want. I'm here as a sitting board member.
Out of order,
I'm here as a sitting board member.
I just want you to know, and I'm not sure if you received it, the revised committees. Did you get that?
I never get anything you send out.
Okay, so there's a revised plan. I'll talk to you after, either before we go next.
Then you would agree with me to table this?
No.
Well, then why?
Mr. Page, are you aware what the deficit was? And 1.9 million, you know we've gotten this down every year. Do you know when the audit ended? When did it end, Ms. Page?
Tell me.
June 30th.
Of what?
Last year.
Okay.
So.
And do you know we was in the deficit for 300-something thousand for the last 3 years?
No, we were in a deficit at 1.9 million and it's down to 384,000.
How long
Are you
ago?
aware of that?
How long ago?
How long ago? We've been in deficit for 12 years.
Right. So when the monitor sends you a letter, sends it to the superintendent, sends it to you, that we are in non-compliance where you could not come up with a correction plan last year for the same deficit.
I'm sorry, Mr. Page. So.
That's not true,
Put
Mr.
it out.
Page.
It is true. I got a memo from her.
Madam President,
That is true.
Wait a minute.
that's not true.
Let me just remember, where are we? It was questions, correct?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Barkley.
Yes, I just feel like, out of all fairness, if he's the chairman of that committee, he should not be asking questions here, he should not be told here. So I think he deserves some courtesy to know about what's happening on that paper so that all doubts can be erased. That's my opinion, and I will definitely be voting that we give him the time to look at it.
But
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
but he's got to speak the facts.
I'm sorry. Jim, can you give your legal opinion one more time, please?
My concern is when the auditor makes a when the auditor points to an issue, and that was the only outstanding issue that we still have.
Right.
My point is that if this gets carried on and doesn't get resolved, it's already April, we're almost at the end of the school year. The state is already threatening to take over. This is the kind of issue, if this gets tabled, you know what I'm saying, that gives the state more justification to take over this district, which would, in my opinion, would be a disaster for the district.
So Jim, why wouldn't this document have any of my input as the chair? Why would it have any of the board members that are on my committee as the chair, as Mr. Callaway is on my committee? And I'm sure he's concerned about this. But why wouldn't I have an opportunity? You know, I am a board member, and the only time I have let me just finish. You let the attorney talk, you won't let me talk.
We get it, and we know where you're trying to go with this.
Okay.
But you receive, and we go through this every board meeting, you receive this information either Thursday or Friday.
Friday.
You haven't contacted me.
You never returned my calls.
You never contacted me.
You never returned my calls.
Well, I don't even know how you got my number, but but you never contacted me.
You never
via
returned my emails.
And I'm not sure if you contacted anyone else.
They never returned my calls.
If you had an issue with this situation, then you should have brought it up either Thursday or Friday or Monday, and you didn't do any
But
of
Paula,
that.
they do not return my
So,
calls.
listen-
You do not return my emails. You,
That's not
Madam
true.
President,
That's
that is
not
true.
That's not true.
You have the
That's not
superintendent
true.
return.
Where we at? Roll call?
To the monitor, to the monitor, to the monitor. This is very, very crucial.
It's
I
a
rec-
motion on the floor to table.
The table, the corrective action plan for the audit. Mr. Barkley.
4.2.
I just said, I tell you, what I say, yes or no.
The table, yes.
No.
What? Madam President, please.
Mr. Barkley, what is your vote?
Yes.
The table, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Callaway.
Mr. Callaway. Do you
Ms.
understand?
Clements. Doesn't matter. And Mr. Carroll, Ms. Couch. Ms. Mello. Ms. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Norris.
With reservations, let me ask you a question, if that's possible, to Jim. Okay. Abstain.
Mr. Page.
Yes. Can I change something? Can we discuss it?
Go finish. We're in the middle of roll call.
Mr. Page.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas.
No.
So 4-4 with one abstention.
Great.
I need more information.
That's why I'm asking.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Norris, you had a question.
What was the motion? Did it carry or fail?
It's 4-4.
The table.
Now, he said, the motion to table failed. Now the vote will take place. There is a first and second previously, and now, if the chair recognizes Mr. Norris,
I would have thought failed if it was 4-4.
he's fine.
Great.
ahead, Mr.
Question, to Mr. Carroll. Mr. Carroll, question, I'm just recollecting that the last time we had a major issue on the floor when it came to the bond for the city, how much trouble that we got in. How does this adversely affect us?
Is that, to me,
Go ahead.
in my experience, brother, this is the kind of issue that is very critically, the state looks at very critically. And if we can't adopt the recommendation here, the corrective action plan, I seriously think it puts the district in very serious danger, which we're already in, the state takeover. And that was the reason my comment on it. I don't think the comment one way or the other. That was just my opinion. I understand Mr. Page's concern. I understand that issue. But the concern is that this is the financial auditor. So one finding, there's a corrective action plan developed by the administration. And that if it doesn't get passed, that the state is going to be more, they're not going to be happy to see the least.
But Jim, this could be passed by the next two meetings we have for
Excuse me,
the, for
Mr.
the.
Page, go through the chair, please. Anything else, Mr. Norris?
That's it.
So, Mr. Carroll, I'm sorry, Mr. Tompkins. So what's the next vote?
Madam
Because
President.
it said, I'm sorry, Ms. Morgan. So what? Okay, so there's a motion to approve 4.2. Mr. Carroll saying the motion is already on the floor. I mean, a first and a second.
Who gave the first and second?
It was, I believe, Mello and myself.
Before the table, there was a first and a second, then there was a motion to table. And then there was a second, the motion to table. So the motion to table then took precedence over that. That motion failed, so now you're back to the original vote.
Can I ask a question since he got changed to something pertaining to this?
Okay, yes, question.
Is it possible we can table this and speak about it in executive session and come back out where we can get more information in executive session and then come back out and talk? So
This is not an executive session item.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
This is the approved 4.2, the corrective action plan. Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Mr. Callaway. Ms. Clemens. Ms. Couch. Ms. Mello. Ms. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Norris. Mr. Page. Ms. Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So there's a monitor to review this, please, to give me an opportunity to talk.
So,
Madam President, 5.1.
can I get a motion for 5.1?
That's a motion.
Mr. Barkley,
Second.
motion. Ms. Thomas, second.
Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley.
Yes.
Mr. Callaway. Mr. Callaway, I didn't hear you, I apologize. Ms. Clemens.
Yes.
Ms. Couch. Ms. Mello. Ms. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Mr. Page.
Abstain.
Ms. Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.1?
Motion. Who makes motion? Mr. Norris makes a motion.
Second. Second by Ms. Morgan. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley.
Yes.
Mr. Callaway. Ms. Clemens.
Yes.
Ms. Couch. Ms. Mello.
Yes.
Ms. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Mr. Page.
Is this 6 point finance?
This is 6.1.
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.2?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Norris, second by Mr. Barkley. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.3? Motion by Ms. Couch. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Norris. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.4? Motion. Motion by, Ms. Morgan, second by Mr. Norris. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.5?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Barkley, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Norris. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Is this 6.5?
6.5.
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.6? Motion by Ms. Clemens, second by Ms. Couch.
Did Ms. Clements make a motion?
Yes, yes. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.7? Motion. Motion by Ms. Morgan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Norris. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I apologize. Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for, where we at, 6.8?
6.8.
Motion by Ms. Couch, second by Ms. Morgan. Questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Mr. Page?
6.8?
6.8.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.9? Necessary.
You make the motion.
Can I get a second for 6.9? Second by Ms. Powell. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Yes. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.10? Motion by, Ms.
Ms.
Clemens.
Clemens?
Can I, second by Ms. Morgan. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Yes. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Can I get a motion for 6.11? Motion by Ms. Morgan. Second by Mr. Norris. Questions?
Yes, Madam President. I just want to know the final status of the elevator now.
The elevator is complete. Right now, we're going through a process. You're approving the change order, but it doesn't mean that this change order is going to be paid. I just want the board to be aware of that.
Can you just let them know why, Mr. Tompkins, please?
Because of delay, we're looking into recouping some funds, but you have to approve the change order. The work is complete.
Any other questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Yes. Mr. Page?
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.12? Motion for 6.12. Motion by Ms. Mello. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barkley. Questions?
Yes, Madam President, this Remington Brandon, are they the consultant or the actual contractor?
No, they're the engineers.
The engineers in what capacity? Because we have two group of people that perform the contract. One group is consultant and one group is the actual performing contractor.
Correct. Remington Brennan is our engineers. They do the engineering site work, but the company that does this did the fence. And if you can take a look, there is no increase. It's a positive and negative, zero actually.
Yeah, that's okay.
Any other questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Can I get a motion for 6.13? Motion. Motion by Ms. Morgan, can I get a second? Second by Mr. Norris. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Galloway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Can I get a motion for 6.14? Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Morgan, second by Mr. Barkley. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Galloway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Yes,
6.15.
Can I get a motion for 6.15? Motion. Motion by Ms. Morgan, second by Ms. Couch. Any questions?
And I think,
I'm sorry. Who?
Mr. Barkley.
Oh, okay. So second by Mr. Barkley. Make sure that reflects in the note. Any questions?
Sorry.
No questions, roll call.
Mr. Barkley? Mr. Calloway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 6.16? Motion. Motion by Ms.
Morgan?
Morgan. Second, can I get a second? Second. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Calloway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 7.1? Motion. No.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Morgan made the motion.
No, Ms. Couch.
Ms. Couch?
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barkley. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Calloway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 8.1? Necessary motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barkley. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Calloway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Miller? Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 9.1? Necessary motion. Can I get a second for 9.1?
Second.
Second.
Ms. Couch?
Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 9.2?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Norris, can I get a second? Second by Ms. Morgan. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 9.3? That's just, motion by Ms. Clemens, second. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan?
No.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 9.4?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Norris. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barkley. Any questions?
Question.
Go ahead, Mr. Norris.
The employee on this page, she's being transferred to Leeds Avenue. My question is, it seems like there's a shortage of special ed teachers in this district, and my question is, by her transferring from South Main Street School, how does this affect the effectiveness of the special ed teachers at South Main?
Actually, it does not. The class where she was has actually been collapsed. There's only just a couple students left, but there was a need at Leeds Avenue, so she's able to move there and fill a position that was needed there.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call, Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Clements? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan? You're abstaining? Okay. Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
next item, we're back on, was the issue by Mr. Rice. Mr. Rice, do you still wish to continue to have this in open session? Executive session? Do you have anything else you want to add to your prior presentation?
Good evening, board. Didn't expect to be back here, but I'm here. I had put in 2 requests for video, and one got misplaced, and it's amazing that it got misplaced. I sent 3 things the same day. Timesheet got where it got. Mr. Manetta never got his paperwork, and the request that I asked for never reached the board office. So I had to send another one last week, and I still didn't get nothing, no phone call or anything in return for that. And I talked to Ms. Rosario when it got to the office.
And I believe that under this circumstance, there was a letter from the attorneys. Yeah, there was a letter from the attorneys regarding the video. There was a letter from the attorneys.
As far as having other union members review the videotape?
Excuse me?
Was that the request to have other union members review the videotape?
Was that the request from who, me?
Yes. You said you made a request. One of the requests you're referring to was a request for other
For a copy,
union members.
no, the request I sent was for a copy for me and my personnel to look at.
And that was denied.
Well, I wasn't told that. Nobody told me that. So I was sitting there waiting for that information and I never got it. So I'm being told this now? Excuse me?
I think Mr. Manetta has something to say.
Okay, so at the liaison meeting last week, I brought it up as to being able to view the video, being Mr. Rice's representatives. And it's only fair that we get to see what everybody else saw in order to prepare a defense for him. Dr. Alston's claim is he had to check with the attorneys because he didn't think it was legal to do that. I said to him, how do you expect us to prepare a defense if we're not getting the same opportunity to see what all you were seeing? I said, that's not fair. If we're his representatives, why can't we see it? That's what I asked.
My understanding was that he was permitted to view the videotape with the union representative. That was my understanding. As far as getting a copy of it, that was not allowed.
No, we never asked for a copy of it. We asked to see it. Like to go to a room and see it, and Dr. Alston said he had to check.
Mr. Rice, were you permitted an opportunity to see the videotape?
My union rep, yes.
Okay, and was your union rep with you at the time?
No, I wasn't.
No.
You would have the right to be there. In any such matter, you would have the right to be there. We chose not to have you there, Mr. Manetta.
It wasn't that I was chosen. I was told on my way to work. I was called by my supervisor when I was on my way to work. I was told to turn around and come back to the board office because I have to look at this video today. That day. So I had to stop what I was doing, turn around, walk from where I was at to here to look at the video. So I was told that morning that I had to see it that morning. So I get here and I looked at it, but no one said anything. It was in haste, and I was pissed because number one, I was on my way to work. And for me to be told that I had to turn around and come back to look at something, when I said that I was going to schedule a day to come and get it or look at it, I didn't understand it. So I was a little perturbed when I got here. Because I'm being told to do a service, but then I'm being told to turn around and being told to come back here to look at something that I was already making the schedule to go see. So why is it that I had to be told when I was on my way to do my job to come back here to do it when I was already scheduling it to see it with my representatives?
And see, but I was told, when I was told that he was already gone when somebody came and told me. And I questioned, what's he doing here? And they said he was upstairs to view the video and he's gone now. And I was really upset because to me, that's denying him union representation. That's what that means to me, denying him union representation. And in order to make this right, we should be able to see that. You all saw it, we should be able to see it, because how do we prepare this man's defense if we don't have it? Now we're going into the situation blind, in my opinion.
Okay, if I may, the reason there was case was because we made a commitment at the last board meeting that we would do that as quickly as possible. That was what you requested. And so that was the reason why we were trying to do it as quickly as possible. Get everyone set up and get the video set up. So it was not anything that was done that was underhanded. We were trying to meet the requirement and the request. However, at any time, and you know this, anytime you want to have representation, it's just a matter of saying so. So it was not anyone denying. It was simply not something that you requested. We would have certainly waited.
We were talking about, again, fairness and your process. We've been talking about videos and evidence for the last almost 6 months. And then a video appears from somewhere, dated back from last year, to bring us to where we're at now, and he still haven't had the fairness to be given to the union to represent him, to see the evidence. What are you doing here? To hold this back this long and to have this over somebody's head and not to be done fair. You're supposed to be equal opportunity employee. Be that. This is taxpayers' money you play with when you're up here and you're dealing with all these lawyers, getting the answer to something that should have been done a year ago. Let's stop playing these games. If he asks for the video, he has a right for it. And if it took that long for a lawyer to answer to it, he had a right to have a copy of that letter, as well as the union. So how can we go further if we don't have a trust factor here that you're going to give the evidence that was requested months ago? Now I want you all to ask yourself that question. How can we go further? For all this time, meeting after meeting for months, if we are not going to do this fairly and transparent. That's all we're talking about.
And the reason why I came turned around and came straight back, tomorrow will be close to a year that I've had to start going through all this. And my whole point with that is, I'm not trying to overstep or do something that will jeopardize what I already have. So, if you told me to turn around, come back, yeah, I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna come back. That's for the safety of my job. I'm not gonna go out of the realm and I'm not gonna do anything to give anybody any reason to come at me. So, yeah, when I came out, I was hasty and I was a little upset, but I know I had to walk the fine line. If I don't walk the fine line, which I found out that in the past year, you get criticized and ridiculed for it. So, if that's your answer, the way it came at me was, you look at it today or you don't look at it. That's how it was. It wasn't a word like, that's how the tone came to me. So that's why I went with my supervisor, went and looked at it with you and Mr. Tompkins. So Joe was the first thing from my mind, because I was like, I need to get to work. I need to get to work. I don't need nobody saying I was late to work, and then I'm saying I'm here, and I know there's no backing. And it'll be used against me. So I'll walk a fine line as much as you want me to, so I can do my job and do what I'm supposed to do and be there for the kids. So there it is right there. It's to the point 6 months I've been here. I'm tired of coming up here. Y'all don't see, y'all don't feel what I feel every day. You don't have people coming up to me, pat me on the back, and say, "Right, she's gonna be all right." I've been hearing that for a year. It's not all right. It's not. Because every day, I gotta make sure I go by the book. Because if I don't go by the book, eyes are looking. I don't need nothing against me. And I shouldn't have to go to work like that. I wake up with headaches every day. Y'all don't know this. I have an aneurysm here, which none of you knew. Nobody knows, except for this lady right here. There's pills that I have to take. The pressure on my eye, I can lose it. But y'all don't know that, because I don't let none of that out. All the stress that you're putting on me, I gotta provide for my family. I gotta provide for my grandkids. I gotta keep my nest egg. You're trying to take that from me. And on top of that, you're making me a wreck. You're making me a wreck. I'm going to meetings to get myself together. I have to keep going so I can keep that line that I'm on. But I keep getting pushed back by the board. Something, a rock has always turned. Mr. Rice did this. But it was a year ago. Mr. Rice did that. Mr. Rice did this. But then you come to me and you tell me I have a right to do X, Y, and Z, but then I get thrown stuff at me on Fridays before a board meeting. How am I supposed to get myself together? How am I supposed to man a defense? If I get it Friday evening, we have a weekend, then it's Monday, then it's the board meeting. How do I have time to meet with who I need to meet with? How do I have time to figure out what the next move is, or what's wrong and what's right? I never get that chance because I get that stuff on Fridays when I'm walking out the door. So, yeah. And you see it in my face. I am a little upset because I'm tired of coming here. I'm tired of it. My son called Dad, just come home. And he's 10. And he's tired of it. For him to call me while he's at home and tell me to come, you don't need to be there. He's tired of it. It's affecting my whole family. All I wanted was fair. That's it. It's like I'm being bullied.
For the record, Mr. Rice, do you want Ms. Swayze to address her again?
Yes, I do. Okay, fairness, let's talk about that. Let's talk about last April when all of this started. We followed all the protocols, he did everything he was supposed to do. He was requested to leave in November. He left in November. 2 days after he left in November, we received a letter stating that he was exonerated from whatever the issue was. However, he returns 4 weeks later. He's still on the agenda. So, he did what you asked him to do. So anything prior to December should never even have been brought before this board, because the stipulation was, if you go and take care of this matter, we'll start fresh, we'll start anew. So why go when, here we go, now we're back in April with something different. So you're backpedaling. So where's the progressive discipline in that? Where did that come from? If that was the case, whatever happened back in April, why wasn't it brought up in April? Why wasn't it brought up in May? Why wasn't it brought up in any month prior to last month? So I guess this is fair that you sit there and you hold the cards and you hold everything. So whatever you feel you need to do, please make sure that it's decent, right, and in order. Because nobody should have to go through this. So maybe you should put yourself in our position where we got to check on him every day. Like I said before, we do more for this community than probably most of you that are sitting there. But we care, and you act like we don't care. He the stuff that he does, as I explained before. But when you talk about human resources, you need to do the right thing. You need to follow the discipline. You need to follow the union. You need to communicate with the union. If it was in haste, I believe Mr. Monetta is in the middle school. Are you not?
Correct.
If it was in haste, from the time it took him to walk from wherever it was, I'm quite sure it was a shorter distance than it was for Mr. Monetta. But nobody reached out to Mr. Monetta. But it was in haste. Haste. To do something, to hasten quickly. This has been one long, drawn-out process 1 year later. And you want to talk about haste. This should be a travesty to have to bring somebody before the board 6 times for the same issue, and then you keep bringing stuff up. When there's other people in this district that aren't doing what they're supposed to do, but because they're part of the team, they let people in the building, people that ain't supposed to be in the building. You got people working that ain't supposed to be working together in buildings. So if we want to go there and we want to do everything in decent and in order, then all the order should be brought to the floor. Not just one person. Not just one person because that person happens to be related to me particularly. So let's put that out there. That's the way I feel, and I'm entitled to feel the way I feel, because all the cards that have been on this table have made no sense. So, no, I'm not going to call no names, but I'm going to say there's a lot of stuff that's going on at South Main. There's a lot of stuff that's going on at Washington Avenue. So maybe your HR department needs to dig deeper into the stuff that's really being done. Maybe you should turn around and get all the certified teachers working and get your subs out so that you don't have a student here talking about he can't get his permit. Maybe you should do something like that instead of spending taxpayers' money on us sitting here, being here all night long. For one person that has told you time and time again how much he cares about the kids and how much he wants his job. So whatever you want to do, you do. But I tell you this, the progressive discipline was not followed. If you asked him to do something, anything prior to December should have not been brought to the table.
I just want to conclude with this. Freedom, justice, and equality is very important. It's something a lot of people died for in this country and continue to die for today. It's very important. If you're going to be fair, the people that's in charge, that's supposed to be dealing with this issue, is something that no one's talking about. To wait this long to talk about discipline someone dropped the ball. There's supervisors and administrators that seen all this happen a year ago. And if they didn't do it right, you need to check them. Because if it's happening to him, there's others that haven't spoke up about it yet. So if you want to start opening this can, and these things start coming out of it, you have the opportunity tonight to check yourself and do and start this thing over and be fair and start rewriting your policy and your procedure if it's not right. And I would say get assistance from the state, but if the state gonna sit there and get paid all this time while all this corruption continues to happen, then they need to be checked as well. Let's keep in mind, you are public servants. The taxpayers' money, whether it's city tax from Pleasantville, county tax, state tax, or federal tax, go into the school system. So everybody has a right to speak up about the injustice that's being done in this district. Again, you have the opportunity tonight to say, we need to check ourselves and do what's right and do what's fair. But check the person with this witch hunt that's been doing this throughout this district. And what about the discipline to them today?
Question? This video that we're talking about, is this the video that Mr. Rice hasn't seen?
He has seen
You seen the video?
it. Yes.
Okay. It has proper protocol been, well, let me back up. This video is about a year old and how did this video come about from a year ago? I mean, was it March, April 18th, I believe? And then this is 2019, April, is almost a year. So was this video, did it come up recently, like January, February, March? That's my question.
Okay, I think that what is missing is the agony and the importance that the board members have placed on affecting someone's life. That's why it has taken so long. Every person wanted to listen, wanted to find out, wanted to see before they made a decision. So that is what has been taking long. And there's not one video. We're making a lot about a video. And we have to understand the opportunity to make sure the consciences were clear and making the right decision. And that's the only thing everyone can do. The chronology of the of the things that we listed, the video is just one thing. There were three. There were opportunities to, when one other incident happened, move to another location, another school. Then there was an incident there. Then there was a suspension involved. Then there was another move to another school. So the efforts were made to try to give the respect due to a man who has contributed a lot to this community, to the students. However, the board holds me and my staff responsible for following board policy, for following the law based on the way we have seen it. And so we get all that information. We hold the principals responsible. We hold the administrators responsible. We hold the principals, everyone responsible, and we expect them to make decisions based on the responsibility they've been given. When those people, and all of these different people that are in these various positions, are responsible for evaluating, for supervising, at some point, their decisions and their recommendations are going to affect someone if it's not done properly. So I guess the question really is whether we need to follow our hearts because we care and because we don't want to negatively impact anybody's life, or we do what the community and the law and the board says we should do, our jobs. That's really what it boils down to. And that's a hard decision. And again, that's why it's taken so long, because the board members have been trying and trying to be fair and to not be hasty. And the number of times we have set up opportunities for different people to review different information was that every opportunity was a time to try to give another chance. Let's make sure. But at this point, it's just a matter of, a decision either of the conscience or a decision of what is going to be popular, quite frankly.
Mr. Superintendent, my question is, understand what you're saying. My question is, was proper protocol followed? And the other question is, this video surfaced recently in reference to, I'm talking about in 2019. It surfaced somewhere between January and March, I'm asking. This video about Mr. Rice.
Well, as I said, there's more than one. So I don't have the dates on when we were made aware of them. But each time we were made aware of an incident that was inappropriate or that dealt with a problem or something that he should not be doing, it was addressed. It was spoken to. He had an opportunity. And this is something I don't want to be in this situation. I don't want to make a recommendation that's going to affect someone. But once I was made aware of the different incidents, and that's the difficulty. What am I, as the superintendent who's making recommendations, the question is, am I going to do my job, which is hard in doing that, or do I do what I feel better about and making everybody else satisfied? Because I'm sure nobody on this board wants to make any adverse decision. And that's what makes this so difficult.
Well, again, the video that we're talking about the video that Mr. Rice was accused of hitting a student. We're talking about that video?
Well, I'm not quite sure. That's the one that you're talking about. I said there's more than one.
The video that I'm trying to allude to, because I saw several videos, and there were some videos that was grainy, but there was a clear video about Mr. Rice. So my question is, are we talking about the video that Mr. Rice was accused of hitting a student? I think it was at the middle school back in, I guess in 2018 in April. Are we talking about that video right there?
Well, again, Mr. Rice, I'm not sure. When they're referring to video, I'm not sure which one they're referring to. Because the opportunity was there to see all of them. So I'm not sure which one is being referred to.
So let me ask Mr. Carroll. Mr. Carroll, is there a timeline as far as... Yeah,
My understanding, Mr. Norris, is that what happened, there was a video involving the release of the students, the improper release of the students. When they went back to view that video, they came across the video of the incident with the student. It was not reported by the student at the time it happened, so when it happened, there was no record of it. Otherwise, it would have been investigated at that time. And it was during the investigation, when they're going back to try to find the other video. That's my understanding.
So my understanding, so then we was looking at other videos, and this video was discovered.
Yes,
if that's okay.
They're not monitored and they're not reviewed periodically. It was only because of the prior video, when they went back to check that video, is when I understand they came across it. So.
But is there a limitation in reference to, if you said it happened 5 years ago, is there a limitation on a person can be disciplined because we discovered something? I'm just trying to understand.
No, there probably isn't from a termination standpoint. I mean, obviously there's a practical limitation. If somebody did something 5 years ago, it could arguably be too remote. If the board decides that the year ago incident was too remote, you can factor that into your consideration. All of this goes into your consideration, how you do it.
Okay. Also, was the student that was allegedly hit, was his parents or guardian informed about the video?
That I don't know what happened.
I'm just trying to bring out all the evidence I can to be fair. I know what I saw.
My understanding is the student did not report it. Whether, when it was discovered more recently, whether that was reported to the parent, that I don't know. It may have been, I don't know.
Because what I'm disturbed about is if we found out about it in 2019, which was either January, February, or March, how come Mr. Rice wasn't disciplined pertaining to that video? Because I think it just seems like there's a missing piece. I know what I saw on the video, but if the parents wasn't called, if there was no
informing of the building superintendent, sorry about that, building principal or the vice principal. I just don't understand why it takes so long to discover this. And if, in fact, if Mr. Rice did cause an infraction, then he should be dealt with accordingly and fairly if he did cause an infraction. But my question again is the video that Mr. Rice is accused of hitting a student. That's the video we're talking about.
And let me just mention something. I don't want to appear as piling on, but one part of what I think you're missing there, Ms. Norris, is that particular incident happened at one point at that school, and in a collection of things, after that period of time, Mr. Rice was transferred to another school. So when you talk about progressive or opportunities to try to address the issues, that was one of those opportunities on the side.
Madam President, may I ask the accused a question? Mr. Rice? Thank you. Mr. Rice, the video that we're talking about, have you seen that video?
Yeah, I saw it a couple weeks ago.
Okay. So we're talking about the same video, you and I?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? So I'm gonna ask you. The video that everyone's discussing, when I went to go see the video myself, the lawyer himself was unsure of, put in my own words, the accusations that was made. It was said to me that the child was, we call it like playful, play a lot. So at the time of this video, no one's sure if the child was playing, if Mr. Rice was playing. And my problem is, if he wasn't playing, it was other workers there that saw what happened, and why wasn't the other, actually it was 4 adults there.
Yeah.
And the other 3 adults, only 1 adult did something pertaining to the child. I'm gonna go into detail, did something pertaining to the child. And the other 2 walked away. So my thing is, if he's being reprimanded for, we don't know if it was him being serious or playing with the child, because it said that the child plays a lot and could have been playing at that moment. So my problem is, if he wasn't playing, if Mr. Rice wasn't playing, and the child wasn't playing, and this happened for real as for him to try to cause harm to the child, why didn't the other 3 workers do something about it, report it, or anything? Why is it now that a video was looked on something else that he did, that this one came about, that it seems like this is the most focus on that part, when it was other adults around that did nothing or reported it? If they had, we wouldn't be discussing this right now. This should have been brought up before. So if he's being reprimanded for this video, I feel as though the other workers that was there that witnessed it should be reprimanded as well. And it was also stated that he had already been reprimanded for this already and was cleared of all wrongdoings with that child.
That's not true.
He wasn't reprimanded this year and went
I
for
mean, I don't know
help to
what
discuss
you read in there, who gave you that.
But I'm asking a question.
But that's not true, correct?
Reprimanded for that incident?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't reprimanded for
Okay.
that. I just found out about that video at the last board meeting. I didn't know anything about it.
Okay, I know when I sat and watched the video with the lawyer and ADCOT, I held this discussion I'm having now, and the lawyer that sat there with me, actually, he kind of said it before I got a chance to say it myself. So before I got a chance to say to him how I felt about the video, he actually took the words out of my mouth and I said it to him. So it's unsure if this was a playful incident or if this was a serious incident, because he said to me that it was known that the child played a lot. So my thing is, if the child played a lot, that could be one reason why the adults, workers, I don't know if they was maintenance or security, whoever was there, that could be one reason why it wasn't reported, because they knew it was a playful incident. If it wasn't a playful incident, I have a problem with them not reporting
Right.
it. So I'm kind of lost with that because I don't know if it was playful or not playful. And if it is playful, everybody knows that there shouldn't be no horse playing in school at all anyway.
Right.
So I'm stuck on it.
Okay, well with that, can I respond to that?
Absolutely.
Okay. With that, the kid in question lived directly behind me in my neighborhood. At my house, playing games, in my backyard, at my house playing video games. So I know the kid personally. I know his mother personally.
Okay.
So anybody that knows me knows the way that I deal with kids. I deal with kids the same way no matter where I'm at, based on me knowing and having a relationship with those kids.
Okay.
I have a relationship just like a kid in the city,
Right.
whether it's from the school, whether it's me coaching them, mentoring them, or whatever. So to get back on that, Mr. Chapman did say something to me in reference to that, because he said, you know, people over here don't take the plan like we do.
Okay.
So he said, you got to tone down.
Okay.
And that was the incident that he was referring to.
Okay.
So after that, I was like, cool, okay, no problem. So backed off, but I still dealt with the kid because he still comes to my house. He's still in the neighborhood. I still do things with him along with the other kids. So, but it was nothing malicious.
Okay. So that's the clarity that I needed because, like I said, the lawyer took the words out of my mouth before I even said it, and Danny Adcock said right there too, wow, they showed me the video. And the question was this playful or was it serious? Because my thing was, if it was playful, then I can understand why no one else reported.
Right.
And it was other people in that cafeteria when it happened.
Right.
And if it was serious, then my thing is, why didn't they report it? And why is it that it's just you that's being in trouble for it? And why the other three wasn't in trouble for it when everyone's here for the safety of our children?
Right.
So therefore, that had all of us, not all of us, but I'm gonna speak on me and the lawyer that was there with me. It was a question up in the air, and he had to question himself, and I wish he was here because I would say the same thing I'm saying right now and hold him to it.
And the whole thing was, the same kid, 2 days prior, had a cake and a Black Panther basketball. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the type of stuff that he did, and we told him to stop, and he would play around, go sit at each other's tables and talk the Wakanda stuff and everything, but that's him.
Okay.
So, I mean, me playing with kids, believe me, I know
Well,
it
it was
now,
said
my hands are
that-
behind my head.
It was said that the child played a lot. He's a plaything,
Baby.
meaning played too much.
Yes.
So therefore, that could be understanding why the other staff did not say anything. But I don't know, I wasn't there. But just to watch the video and watch these adults walk away, if it was serious, is a problem with me.
Right.
So therefore, if it was playing, then I can understand them just walking away to the side, but didn't move too far from the incident that happened.
Right.
So that's what I needed to get to the point of, was it serious and they did nothing to report it for the welfare of our children? Or was it playful and that could be a reason why? Because I feel as though it should only be you being held accountable for this video if it was malicious.
Exactly. But wasn't nothing malicious about it. You could get the kid and
Okay.
come here today.
What I'm saying is,
Madam President, I'm going to speak about the facts that I saw. And I need you to...
Please don't mention any names that nobody...
I'm not going to mention
No,
names.
just
I agree.
everybody.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
Mr. Younger, I know you represent Mr. Rice. As adults, as not only as adults, but as staff members and as teachers, whatever our titles are in the district, the perception is, not even perception, we're not allowed to touch any student, whether we plan or not. Because what happens is it puts you in the crosshairs of a lawsuit. So when an adult touches a student, whether they was planned or not, it's perceived by the public and it's perceived by the cameras that the student was injured. In the video that I saw, that student went down like a stack of bricks. We have no right to put our hands on any student, whether we plan or not, because we're professionals. And whether it happened last year, whether it happened this year, Mr. Rice, you shouldn't have put your hands on that student. the video that I saw. And I know you are a football coach in this community. You have a lot of relationships with the kids. They love you. They trust you. But as teachers or as staff members, we're not allowed to touch any students, whether we're friendly with them or not, because it's perception. Even if you were playing, it makes you get in hot water.
Can I answer that?
Yes, sir.
Put my name up, and it's Young. Perception. Perception is, if this actually happened, he's been accused of, and all this staff members saw it, and for all this time, from April up until now, you allow that to happen, and all those adults are still in the system. I think all of you is endangering the welfare of a child.
Yes.
Not just the person that did the act. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So therefore, if there's going to be consequences for anything, which he's already suffered because you brought it out in the public to him, but what about the other adults that was there? If there was an assault on a child, it's supposed to be reported to the police or anyone else, and I don't care who it is.
You should be able
And
to
if that did not happen, that's not on him, it's on the other administrators and other adults. Let's keep it in mind. The other adults that saw it, if they felt that that child was harmed in any way, they had an obligation by law to report it immediately, especially to their parents. And if they did not do that, that's endangering the welfare of every child in this district. So think about that.
And before you leave, sir, let me take this microphone off. The film that I saw about Mr. Rice hit the student in the stomach with a microphone like this. He hit the student in the stomach with a microphone just like this. So he was wrong, but even if he was playing with that student, he was wrong for hitting that student with a microphone. That's the problem that I have. But the other problem that I have is that how come the parents wasn't notified? How come it wasn't properly protocoled? How come nothing wasn't done until a year later? That's the big issue that I had. But it still doesn't excuse Mr. Rice from hitting that student in the stomach with a microphone, even if he knew him or not. Because if that was my child, I would have a serious problem with my with my son or daughter getting hit in the stomach, whether I knew the adult or not. Now, I know when I was in school, you know, the gym teachers or some of the teachers used to body us up. Times has changed now. You know, diapers, all types of agencies. But when you put your hands on the student and the student went down like a ton of bricks, but that wasn't reported, and it should have been reported. Shouldn't have took this long. I have a big issue with that. But it still doesn't excuse the issue. Even though Mr. Rice claims he was playing, it still doesn't excuse the issue of him punching the student in the stomach with a microphone made out of metal in his hand. I have an issue with both agendas, with it not being properly processed and carried out, and the parents not notified, the police not notified, and not only others watched, but this whole thing was wrong.
Well,
it was wrong.
We agree about that. The process and the procedure in being fair is what we're talking about here. That's what we're here for as an advocate on his behalf on National Action Network. We're talking about the process and procedure that you admitted, and everyone admitted here, was not done properly.
I agree with that.
So therefore,
Everyone didn't agree on that.
all right, I heard it from some, didn't hear from others. But you just mentioned basically what we've been saying all the time. The process and the procedures and the policy. If that was not carried out, who was responsible for not carrying it out? And we need to make sure that did not happen again to anyone.
And
But
sir,
can I just say
That's
this? But we also have to worry about the welfare of the child as well, because I think that's the piece you missing.
No, that's the piece I keep saying over again. If nothing happened and it wasn't reported, then everyone that's involved was in danger welfare of a child. If there was charges pressed from the police department or from Division of Youth and Family Services, they would tell you, everyone that's seen that act is responsible of endangering the welfare of a child. That's all the process.
But I
and
believe
procedure
it
I'm
was
talking about.
recorded.
The superintendent basically said it was not, they looked for it later, they found it, and when they found it, 6 months almost later, that's when this issue started coming up. That's what we all heard in the room.
No, actually, what we heard was that we were in the process of investigating another incident that was discovered because we weren't looking for that. But once we did, yes, it's currently in the process of being handled by an agency. So that's.
Excuse me, say that again?
It is currently still active.
Being handled, you said about agency. What agency?
Appropriate agencies.
So can you tell me what the agency is? That's why we have it before the public.
Appropriate agencies.
So
we didn't drop the ball. As I said, that was not the primary thing we were looking for, but in seeing that became another issue.
So this appropriate agency that you're not speaking about, telling us about, they are doing an investigation, and that's what you're saying?
Yes.
And again, if that's still being investigated, we're here a year later. You hear my point?
No, I don't, because
we're here a year later.
A couple of months ago, we listed the number of things that were happening in that year. So it's not that.
No, we asked for all the evidence about 4 meetings ago. Any videotape, any paperwork, all of that before this started coming.
Well, listen to Attorney Saturday, he read a list of all of the different.
The bottom line is if there's another agency investigating, as they say, this issue, then do you wait for the conclusion of that, or you make a decision now? That's why we're here. That's my question. That's the whole issue. The solicitor here, attorney, can answer that question?
No, he stepped away.
Step away.
Okay, I guess he'll answer me once he come back.
You're paying him for being over there. We need to pay him for being over here. Excuse me, sir. We need you over here for a question. Thank you. Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
What's the question?
You don't remember? No. The question is, the superintendent mentioned that it's a possibility that another agency is doing an investigation on this issue. And we're just curious, before you, if it's still being investigated, will you still be making a decision tonight and it hasn't been concluded on this investigation?
Yes, there are two separate actions. The state independently can take action, independent of the board action.
And what's the name of the agency again?
I don't know if it was referred to the state or not. It would be either the State Board of Education or the children, or was that even the state school now? DCP.
So the agency he's speaking about that's still investigating this issue is DCP&P. That's what you're saying.
Several agencies that have jurisdiction that could investigate and make independent findings.
That's my question.
Thank you.
Madam President, I'll make this short. The position that we're in right now, as far as a board, it just seems to me that it took too long to bring it to light. Not excusing what Mr. Rice did with the student. It looks like that we're facing another potential lawsuit because the protocol wasn't followed. And if Mr. Rice's head falls, and I think the other people that witnessed and didn't say anything, I think they should be accountable also. So, shouldn't have happened, it happened, and none of us, again, no staff should put their hands on any student at any time, whether they plan or not, because they set themselves up for failure, they set themselves up to lose their job. I don't care how many years you worked for the board or how many days you worked, when you put your hands on the student, that's when you set yourself up to lose your career and your job and your reputation and your livelihood. So there's a lot of blame to be pointed. But again, there's no excuse for Mr. Rice for when I saw what he did with the student. And as a board, if we didn't follow it and the administrators didn't follow proper protocol, the burden of that weight falls on them also.
Mr. Norris, I just have a quick question. Who said proper protocol wasn't followed?
Well, you know what? Let me retract that. I hope proper, and I'm glad you corrected me. I hope proper protocol was followed. Let me frame that. Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on two things that I listened to keenly so that we remember them. The Honorable Member made a statement about those that witnessed this incident, and Brother Young made a statement about that too, so I just remember and know how we're going to deal with that. If people watch something happening and they didn't report it, they're going to
Any other questions? All right, call the vote for 9.5 to termination of Calvin Rice.
Before we call the vote, Madam President, I've been quiet all through this. Maybe this is to the attorney. I pretty much heard all sides. And we're in a district right now where we're going to arbitration and we're not winning. We're not winning arbitration. We're going to court, we're not winning. We're in a position of settling cases that administration thought we could win. This is one of those cases. Now, from the attorneys that was in the back room one time when we saw about another case, they said it clear. They said this board has to start changing the culture in this district. I think this is a case that all of us, and this is my question to the attorney, can we go into executive session without Rice? And I have a compromise. I got something where we could see one person can't take the brunt of it all when other employees were involved too and did nothing. The board has to send a message more than just to terminate one person. The message has to go out from this board, under this superintendent, under this board president, that we're not going to tolerate any of this. But we're not going to push it all on one person. Yes, the person has had other difficulties. His record shows it. But the important part about this case is this person's been here over 20-some years. And what Dr. Austin was saying, that's pretty much what brings it to heart today of what we got to do to let someone go after 20-some years. But in this case, there's too much mitigating circumstances. And I'm telling you, we may make the vote to terminate this gentleman, but he has arbitration, he has the court system, and if we're talking about rules and regulations, we're talking about the students' rights, the students' protection, we will lose because we, as our administrators, did not follow protocol. So I have a suggestion. If we go in executive session, I've been involved in a lot of arbitrations, a lot of cases. I'm ready to resolve this, but resolve it in a way that nobody gets away with this.
Mr. Page, you're misrepresenting the truth. There is no evidence, no indication that any of our administrators have followed protocol, and that is just not fair for you to make that statement.
Well, I have to make the statement because, Dr. Austin, you actually pulled the case several times. You pulled your termination.
I explained why we're trying
Let me finish. You're trying to make the case as well as you can to make the right decision. Wait a minute, let me finish.
Well, I tell you what.
Because when I asked
I just make the recommendation based on the people who have referred to me.
Right.
And, it's your job as board members to make the vote. I'm going to do what the information directs me to do, and that's all I can do.
And
So-
what I'm saying as a board member and part of this board, we have a right to go into executive session and talk about a decision that we can make other than the one you have.
Well, that may be, but as I said, what you implied was that there was something done wrong by administration that contributed to this confusion. That's what I'm dealing with. That's not accurate, and it's not fair for you to make that kind of statement.
Testimony's been given. Rick Norris has said it well. We had other employees, Ms. Morgan has said it well, we had other employees that witnessed certain things but did nothing. Wait a minute. Don't tell me that it's not true. I saw the tape. So if each board member sees the tape and sees everything that you have on this gentleman, we have our own opinion of what we believe. Now, you have, Dr. Austin, you have your opinion too, because you pulled one.
No,
Let me finish.
I'm not doing
Let
this
me
on
complete.
opinion.
Let me finish.
Mr. Norris said that the facts speak. And so that's all I deal with. So no, I'm not dealing with my opinion.
Well, Dr. Austin, you had a motion in front of this board. There's so many mitigating circumstances in this case. I don't see how you're going to get what you want. But
I don't want
if we look at,
all I do is my job, making a recommendation.
Okay.
For the decision.
You talking more than you ever. But if you look at the full picture of changing the culture in this district, having our teachers every day come to work in fear, the morale is so low. This board has to make a statement. And it's not just to make a statement to follow your recommendation.
Mr. Page.
It is to make a statement.
Can I just make a statement? You're basing your statement on one incident.
No, I'm not.
We all saw at least 3 incidents on that video, correct?
Yes.
So we're all talking about the one incident with the microphone. But we're failing to realize that there was other incidents, and one of them was clear and one of them was fuzzy, correct?
Right, so it's really one.
No, there's 3. One was fuzzy, 1 and 2 were clear, correct?
Yeah, but you say I'm relying on one video.
With the microphone.
Yes.
Right.
But I'm not relying on that. I'm not relying on the one video.
Oh, you're not? Oh,
No,
okay. All right.
no.
All
I
right.
understand what Dr. Austin said.
Okay.
It is the overall record of this gentleman when it comes down to it. It's all 3 videos, you really want to say it. Because when you're sitting across the table in arbitration, everything that's brought out tonight is going to be brought out tonight. But you know what the arbitrator is going to look at? The rules and procedures, due process. Was it followed? And that's why we lose cases. We lose cases, or we have to settle cases because those lawyers are there tell us you can't win this because your administration failed.
That's not true.
That is true, and that's why we resolve.
All right, I think we're just going somewhere else.
No, let me say.
So can I get a motion to
Wait a
go
minute,
for
wait a minute.
9.5?
When Ms. Morgan speaks, she can speak.
Can I get a
When Rick
motion,
speaks, she can
please?
speak, and when I speak, I'm asking to go back and
Motion
executive
by
session.
Ms.
Let's talk
Towns.
about
Can
it.
I get a second? Second by Ms. Thomas. Any questions? Martina.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Question.
So, Mr. Page's opinions and statements have been made. Are we being fair to Mr. Page so he can, because we're all board members and we're supposed to be working as one unit. But is Mr. Page really given the opportunity to fully explain his opinion about this?
Did he? You talking about tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, because, I mean, maybe I'm hearing something different and I'm not being smart or anything, but to me, Mr. Page is saying the same thing over and over. I heard him the first time, I heard him the second time. I just feel like he needed, we gotta do what we gotta do. Because, I mean, he was about to say it the 3rd or 4th time.
And lastly, are we going into executive session to finish discussing this?
No, there's a motion on the floor to move on it.
All right, so the motion was made by Ms. Couch and second by Ms. Thomas.
Mr. Barkley, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I think Mr. Page was trying to help the gentleman, but when he resorted to an argument like that, it didn't help a lot. Because you were appealing for it to have gone to executive section. But when he resorted to confrontation, in the way he ended it, I'm just thinking about also giving him the privilege to hear what he has to say because I'm prepared to vote, but I'd like to exhaust every avenue that I have with me. Yeah, I'm prepared to vote. I'm not shy away from voting. But if somebody comes with the opportunity to say I have something, because this will be a final vote to decide whether somebody remains employed or not. So every time I see a little window, I want to give it a try to see what's coming from that window. And to you, my dear brother, when you have the kind of good intentions, you have to try that to succeed by limiting the confrontation that goes along with it, because that can be self-defeating. Yeah, so that's just what I want to say, and I really wanted to give you the opportunity to listen before I cast my vote.
All right, roll call, Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Barkley? Yes. Ms. Galloway? Ms. Clements?
No.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan?
No.
Mr. Norris?
No.
Mr. Page?
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion failed.
I just have a question for, to put on the record.
Motion failed.
For the attorney. When I went to go view the footage, Mr. Page did, state that was a relative of his. So is it okay for him to vote on this issue?
Yes, under the circumstances, his determination as to whether or not it's proper for him to abstain. If, obviously, Mr. Rice was a relative, he would have legally had to abstain. If he felt there was a conflict, he could abstain, but that was his determination.
Thank you.
I want to respond. Madam President, I'm going to respond to you, but I'm not going to respond at this time. I'm going to respond to you face to face.
I need 9.6.
Can I get a motion for
9.6.
Motion.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know what it's called.
9.6, Madam President.
yes.
Motion.
Any questions?
No, I need a second.
I made a motion.
And you make the motion. There was no second. There was a second. There was a second.
Yes. Questions? Roll call, Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Barkley? 9.6. Yes. Ms. Galloway? Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan? Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Motion carries. 9.7.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Barker.
I want to make a motion, but I want to ask a question, referring to the superintendent. There was an issue that I just learned about an employee that went through arbitration. How do we intend to handle that? The one that was referred to return to work.
They was gonna give us paperwork on the settlement, and then we was gonna.
The one that has to return to work?
Yeah.
Okay. That was inquired about the arbitration issue that was discussed here.
No? We done? Oh, I'd like to make a motion on that. I'd like to make a motion.
I'm sorry, what was your motion, Mr. Barkley?
But I was intended to make a motion on the rest of the agenda, but I expressed my interest on the rest of the agenda concerning the arbitration. And I thought we were going to.
Wait.
So there's a motion for, go ahead.
I think Mr. Barker is saying that he wants to make a motion to approve the rest of the agenda by unanimous consent if the board supports it. He does have an issue about that arbitration matter. We can't discuss that tonight. We can put it on the next agenda, we can discuss it then. It was not right for time.
No, that's not true. We can discuss that in executive session. This is important.
There's no executive session.
There's no executive. I'll make a motion for it to be executive session. We have to talk about this. Listen, we're gonna change the culture of this district. We gotta start acting right. We gotta do the right thing.
So there's a motion on the floor for consent agenda for the rest of the agenda. A motion for consent agenda to vote on the rest of the agenda instead of doing one by one.
Mr. Barkley made a motion for this consent agenda.
Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Cook. Any questions for consent agenda? Roll call, Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Barkley. Ms. Clemens. Ms. Capps. Ms. Mello. Ms. Morgan. Mr. Norris.
No.
Mr. Page.
No.
Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. You have to be.
No, I'm just asking.
In order to have the consent agenda, everybody has to be in. Everyone's not going to do it, we have to go item by item.
Mr. Carroll, we couldn't hear you, sir.
Sorry?
We couldn't hear you.
We could do it, if everybody had agreed, we could approve everything by unanimous consent. If they don't agree, then it has to go item by item.
Clarification. Madam President, clarification. We had talked earlier today about an arbitration that.
Can you just hold that for a minute, please? 7.
Yeah, we haven't gone through the agenda first, so we're at 9.7.
Okay.
Well, I would just suggest that if everything went through committee, it'd be like that. Nothing goes through committee. Nothing goes through committee.
Can I get a motion for 9.7? Motion by Ms. Mello, can I get a second?
Mr. Barkley made a motion for second 9.7.
Question.
Can I get a second?
Another question.
Okay, question.
This is in reference to 9.7 substitute part-time staff. I would like to address the issue that I think is happening in our district in reference to substitute part-time staff.
I think this is only for what, the, maintenance, right here?
One maintenance staff.
One
Why are we
person.
hiring all these part-time?
Okay, you said this is reference to maintenance? It's 9.7, right?
Can I rephrase that? Substitute maintenance staff.
I retract my question.
Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley? Yes. Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Madam President, I would like to help out. I would like to make a motion that we approve or go through the motion for 9.8, 9.9.
No, we just did all that, and it was voted down, so we're gonna
No,
go on
it's not a consent vote. It's a motion I'm making for the different items. Now, if I get a second, or we can vote for 10 items at one time.
No, I don't.
Not going for
Can I get a
consent.
motion for 9.8?
Madam President, you don't understand what I'm trying to say. We're gonna be here all night. I'm not asking for consent.
Go ahead, Dr. Brown.
At this point, as the board continues to move through the balance of the agenda, I will take anything under advisement that may need to be reviewed. But I do need to excuse myself. It's been over 3.5 hours, and I apologize, but I do need to excuse myself this evening. I will take under advisement anything that may come into question. I would ask the superintendent to let me know about that via email in the morning, in the interest of the children of Pleasantville. Thank you.
Good night, Dr. Brown.
So we're 9.8.
Can I get a motion for 9.8? Motion by Ms. Combs, can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Norris, I'm sorry. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Mr. Carroll?
Yes. Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Passes. 9.9?
Can I get a motion for 9.9? Motion by Ms. Morgan, second by Mr. Barkley. Questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Carroll?
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Clemens. I apologize. Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
9.10.
Motion for 9.10? Motion, second by Barkley. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Carroll.
Mr. Barkley? Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Ms. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
9.11.
9.11, can I get a motion? Motion by Ms. Mello, can I get a second?
Second.
By, who said second? Mr. Norris. Any questions?
Mr. Barkley?
Roll call.
Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page? Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Can I get a motion for 9.12? Motion. Second. Second, Morgan. Questions? Roll call.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
9.13.
Motion by Ms. Morgan, can I get a second? Second by Ms. Clemens.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes. Question?
I'm sorry, what question?
Yes, Dr. Austin, this is a HIV matter.
Page, can you repeat that, please?
The 9.13 is People's Matters. This is one case of an incident involving an HIV matter, which some other decision was made on what type of discipline or whatever, but I'd like to know what the incident was. And I'd like to know how did it involve any of our other kids, and how, I'd just like to know what the incident was.
After this question, Madam President, I have a question.
That has to be done in executive session.
Because there was another report that was done, that was filed.
I'm sorry?
I said there was another report, too, that I didn't see on here, that was filed. Child with the BB gun. That involved my grandson. I don't see it on here.
We're gonna table now for that.
Okay.
Excuse me?
We're gonna table it. What is that?
For executive session. Thank you.
My suggestion, there is no executive session scheduled for tonight. My suggestion is that you table it and you have executive session at the next meeting.
No, why don't we have that session tonight?
Because wasn't listed on the agenda, and I assume that, I'm not prepared, I don't have to be legal with me.
Well, we have an attorney here that's willing to tell us how far the case is going to go.
No, we're talking about the HIV.
I know, we can talk about that case too.
What case? If we pull it, that's the only thing that we're going to discuss. I'm sorry, the only item.
Why?
There's no executive session item.
Yes, it is. We have one here. 9.13, we've got a couple other ones. 11.4. I don't understand. We got so
I'm sorry,
many.
there is. There's a motion on the floor for 9.13. Any other discussions on it? Roll call, Mr. Colonel.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Whatever. Did we get this clear?
Mr. Couch?
My question was about.
We're in the middle of the vote.
Morgan?
Before I vote, I just want to be sure, is this
We're in
to,
the middle of a vote.
okay, but I made the motion, if this is the same motion that I made for the HIV?
Yeah, what are we voting on?
Is this the same one? Because I know I did the motion and then started asking questions.
9:13.
So,
The motion is for the Board of Education to confirm the superintendent's action on the HIV matters from March.
No,
but wasn't that, didn't you just say that was going to be tabled until next one since we didn't have the session?
No motion to table. I hope to vote.
Wait a minute, hold on. By law,
I'm lost.
Jim, you gotta explain.
That was for the one else.
This HIV is not just a simple case, we just vote. We have to go in executive and talk about the incident.
Ms. Morgan.
No.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
9:14.
Ms. Clemens didn't get a chance to vote.
10-1.
Ms. Clemens didn't get a chance to vote.
I'm sorry, Ms. Clemens. Ms. Clemens? I have you down as a yes.
No, I didn't say, I said abstain. I was trying to say.
Well,
10.1.
to the attorney.
Can you, I'm sorry, can you just put that vote under, advisement, please?
As far as the,
That's 9.13, medallion.
as far as the executive board,
No.
Executive session.
Can I get a motion for 10.1?
Motion.
Second by Ms. Couch, any questions? Roll call, Mr. Carroll.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mellon?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
No.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yep.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Can I get a motion for 10.2? Motion by Ms. Clemens. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Couch. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Carroll.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mellon?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Norris? Yes. Mr. Page?
Just clarification, 10.2, what is that, field trips? 10.2, where is it?
Workshop, conference, activities, field trips, fundraisers.
I don't see 10.2.
Several pages long.
Right here.
Okay.
Your vote?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Motion for 10.3? Motion by, Ms. Morgan, second by Ms. Clemens. Questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley? Yes. Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Yes. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries. We're at
Motion for 10.4? Motion by Ms. Morgan, can I get a second? Second by Mr. Barkley. Questions? Yes. Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Ms. Barkley? Yes. Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Mr. Page? Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 10.5? Motion by Ms. Morgan, can I get a second? Second by Ms. Couch. Questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Ms. Barkley? Yes. Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Yes. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries. We're at 10.6.
Motion for 10.6. Motion by Ms. Morgan, can I get a second? Second by Ms. Clemens. Questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Ms. Barkley? Yes. Ms. Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Yes. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Can I get a motion for 10.7?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Morgan?
Yes, Ms. Morgan, can I get a second? Second.
Question.
Second by. Question?
Yes. These workshops are about, including classes and how to build, classrooms. Can I ask the superintendent a question? Mr. Superintendent, are we sufficiently staffed for special education teachers in this district? The reason why I'm asking that question is because there's an onslaught of substitute teachers, and I'm concerned about public law public law PL 504, which stipulates that you have to have a qualified teacher to teach special ed kids, because each kid has different accommodations and modifications, and if we don't have the staff to address these students that have special needs, that violates federal law, which is PL 504. Because substitute teachers will understand, I know they source by teachers, and they are not full-time employees. So if we're not following what's in the IEP, this could cause us some major problems with lawsuits, because what's in the IEPs are not followed, because uncertified staff they're not qualified to teach special ed students when it comes to their IEPs, because they haven't been trained in that area.
I'm sorry, Mr. Norris, you talking about 10.7?
Let me make sure. Yes, I'm talking about 10.7. I see there's workshops for
inclusion classes, which is the first one, Patricia Davis, and you have,
The first,
I'm sorry, I apologize.
the
The first two. How to build inclusive classrooms and how to build inclusive classrooms with blankety blank in Glassboro.
Mr. Norris, I can answer that, Dr. Austin? Because we met with special ed department, as we're going over the budget. There were 67 special ed teachers, and we had 67 special ed teachers.
Say it one more time, please, sir.
We met with the special ed department, we had 67 special ed teachers. And that completed the necessary requirements for all classes. So they're what they're called, and as you know, because you're a teacher, they're highly qualified teachers. And there are 67 of them, and that's in the budget. It's in the budget for next year. So I think 6 are retiring, and 6 are going to be replaced.
So between April and June 30th, do we have enough special ed teachers in the middle school to accommodate our kids?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes. We went over that. I mean,
I'm only saying
we
it-
rely on our special ed department to tell us, and they advised us in the meeting. Am I correct, Dr. Austin?
Yes.
That they had all the necessary teachers to fill all the slots.
Also,
And we're not talking about age, we're talking about teachers.
also, I would like to make a motion to audit all the special ed placement across the district. Who's teaching them, and are they highly qualified?
You don't need a motion for that.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Right, motion on the floor. I would like to request the audit of all special ed placement across the district. Because the IEPs, they are federal documents, and if we don't follow the IEPs, we're in violation of those documents, especially PL 504.
If I may. Mr. Norris, you're absolutely right. However, you may also know that the special education department in all the districts are audited every so often. So we actually just completed the audit for our special education department throughout the district. Team from the State Department came in, and they spent a couple of days going through all the buildings, going through looking at IEPs, looking at teaching staff. So, we certainly have the report.
Are we able to see that?
Beg your pardon?
Are the board members able to see that?
Absolutely.
Okay, can we see that, please?
Yes.
At your earliest convenience.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call, Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Barkley? At 10.7. Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page? Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion for 10.8?
Hold on.
Motion for 10.8.
Second.
There's a motion and a second.
10.8. Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Ms. Morgan made the motion, Mr. Norris seconded.
Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley? Ms. Clements? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Madam President, I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Ms. Morgan.
I see that y'all said that on the agenda that we don't have executive session, but in 11.1, I see that we had executive session on the agenda. What happened on
my understanding, it's always listed there. If Mr. Rice had elected to have it, it's a matter of her.
That was for him. Okay. And secondly, are we in the time frame for the evaluation of the superintendent? And if so, can I make a motion that we do the evaluation?
Second.
You're required to evaluate the superintendent. The question shouldn't be, you need a motion, that's required by law, whether or not you want to utilize New Jersey school boards to do that. That's
Okay, can I make that motion, or what you're saying?
Yes.
Motion
What to utilize?
to utilize the New Jersey School Board for
I second that motion.
the evaluation of our superintendent.
I second it.
Motion by Ms. Morgan, second by Mr. Page. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Huh?
When you say alternative, I'm not clear on that. Is there an alternative to evaluation or alternative to New Jersey school boards?
Evaluation of the superintendent is up to the board members to vote.
I said there an alternative beside the one we are voting for. Is there an alternative?
Is there another group out there?
Speak to
No.
Mr. Barkley.
Okay,
New Jersey school boards already have a design.
I understand you.
That they will come in and show us the procedure we're gonna use.
Okay, fine.
They're not going to, like, tell us how to do it. I mean, tell us what to do.
There's a motion on the floor to utilize school boards to do the superintendent's evaluation. There's a motion and a second.
Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley? Yes. Ms. Clements?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
No.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Make a motion that we go in executive session.
We have not finished the agenda yet, Mr. Page. We have just a couple more items.
I thought we had 11.
We have 11, 1 through 11:4. That will conclude the agenda.
Yeah, but that 11 is all executive session. Make a motion for executive session.
Excuse me, Mr. Carroll.
We have.
I'm sorry, Madam President. Let me go to you first. Didn't we say that the executive session wasn't being held tonight because Mr. Rice elected not to?
Correct. And there were no other matters scheduled for executive session. If anybody wants to put anything on executive session, they can notify the board secretary.
No, we have a case.
No, Mr. Banana. No, not at this time.
No, but from earlier tonight when I was talking about the Jones matter and me and Jim were talking and you said, we'll take that back there. And then
Right.
we'll come back out. That's
We're
what
not
we
going to
had
do
said.
that tonight.
Why
So
not?
that's what we had said. This is what
I didn't say that. I didn't say it. I said it had to be discussed in executive session. We put on the next agenda.
Gallagher said it. Gallagher said he's here tonight to go into executive session.
No, I said, you said we're gonna bring
I did not say
it
that.
back there and then we'll come back out.
I did not say that.
Can I get a motion?
I had nothing to do with it.
Roll the tape, roll the tape, roll the tape. That's how we're gonna find out. Roll the tape.
Jim, come on.
Can I get a?
Roll the tape. That's what we're being taped for. Roll the tape.
If I said anything, I said it needs to be discussed in executive session. We cannot discuss.
Can I get a second to adjourn?
Roll the tape.
Second.
I made a motion for executive session.
Roll call, Mr. Tompkins. The
Who made the first?
motion by Mello,
Made
second by
executive
Council.
session for executive.
This is not right.
This is not
Mr.
right.
That's why we
Barkley?
got lawsuits.
This is not right, Jim.
Ms. Clements?
Not right.
Ms. Clements, I...
Not right.
Clements, yes. Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Morgan? Ms. Morgan? Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Mr. Page. Ms. Thomas.
Yes.
The time is 9 o'clock.